On this opening day of racing, the New York Yacht Club and Patriot are first out of the blocks, facing INEOS Team UK.
This is a really, really big moment for this whole program and all the effort that's gone into getting this boat competitive.
It's definitely the same boat. It's just had quite a few modifications.
INEOS Team UK, they couldn't buy a win in the World Series pre-Christmas 2020.
It's been a tough old ride for the team.
INEOS Team UK win PRADA Cup Race 1 and get the first points on the board.
Okay, awesome job, guys. Well done, guys. Nice work, guys.
We didn't win that race, I would say, because we didn't do a good job of keeping the race close.
This is a struggle getting worse right now for the Americans.
Our boat is a great boat, and I think our boat's a fast boat.
What a way to start this Challenger Series.
The fact is, those guys did a better job, and they deserve the win.
Couple strange mistakes from Rossa, PRADA, Pirelli.
Oh, I think clearly the landscape's changed. Ben and these guys have made a big step up.
This is far from over yet, so whilst we've won a couple of races, this is just the beginning. We've got a long road ahead of us, and we've got to keep our heads down, keep focused, and keep on that journey.
Nomai Haramai, and hello and welcome to Auckland, New Zealand, home to the 36th America's Cup Day 2 of the PRADA Cup Challenger Series. The opening day of racing yesterday left fans and experts alike slack-jawed. The previously underperforming INEOS Team UK docked out and cashed in, confidently winning both their round-robin races and set the PRADA Cup alight to the delight of British supporters. Confirmation then that after 2 races, it's INEOS Team UK with the perfect 2-0 record, while American Magic and Rossa are yet to get on the board. That situation will change today, and for either it will need to. We are 2 races down and 10 to go in the round-robin series of the PRADA Cup. And today, round robin 1 will be completed with the first showdown between Rossa and Patriot, and then we open the second round robin phase with yesterday's headliners INEOS Team UK against American Magic. Well, the commentary team has assembled, as has the crowd at the village. Nathan Outridge will be in chase boat 1, while 2-time Olympic gold medalist Shirley Robertson and president of North Sails Kenny Reid are beside me. And wow, the teams have docked out earlier on today, and this is the really important part with teams that need points. The support they need is there for them. Rossa, PRADA, Pirelli, and of course you'll have American Magic. Lighter conditions today. We're going to talk about that right now with Kenny Reid, because the heroes yesterday were INEOS Team UK, and today we're going to see that question answered. What are they going to be like in lighter conditions?
Well, Stephen, the story certainly yesterday was obviously the British, 2 huge wins, and then the world screams in unison, the Brits are fast. But hold on, yes, their speed appears to be much improved. But yesterday was also a case of speed and smarts on the race course, having equal billing. The shifty southerly coming off the land and really made for a one-sided racetrack. I don't know where this speed came from, but surely also the difference was smarts. And that's the other big half of what sailing is all about.
Boat speed is, of course, golden. But Kenny, this PRADA Cup isn't going to be a drag race. We're looking at a real boat race here. And yesterday, Ainsley and Scott on INEOS, they schooled the opposition with a tactical masterclass. They ran a faultless strategy and what was a tricky stadium racetrack. And having spoken to Terry Hutchinson and Jimmy Spittle last night, I wouldn't say they seemed shell-shocked, but let's hope it was a big wake-up call. They'll have been harsh analysis in both camps tonight. So let's see today if they can come out punching.
Got to say one thing, Shirley, following that up, when Terry Hutchinson said we did what we wanted to do, but it was wrong, that is all too telling.
You know, they have a bunch of meteorologists and coaches, and Terry's no slouch on the tactics, and their strategy was just flawed. They wanted the left-hand side, and yesterday we saw how dominant that right-hand side of the racetrack was.
And quickly, Kenny, protest. It wouldn't be an America's Cup without a protest.
Of course, the America's Cup politics comes into play. You never know when it's not going to. Okay, folks, Rule 18.1 says there can't be any openings in a sail, in the skin of a sail. If we look at this area, and it's really, you got to look very closely, but right in this area around the tack, that is where the problem was. It's a piece of line coming off the gooseneck that actually left the sail and went back into the sail. It's part of the system. Ooh, look at that. We're getting in close. That fairing doesn't count. So a piece of line could leave the fairing and go back into this. There was actually a slit in the sail where the outhaul line went back into the sail. That was illegal, deemed illegal. But it's also a claim of non-compliance. It is not actually a protest. They went to the measures, and the measures deemed, yes, you have a little small foul, but they actually went through it. And guess what? They've given a $5,000 fine to INEOS that's gone to the Peter Blake Foundation from Team INEOS. And no harm, no foul, all gone away.
First up today in race, it'll be the Italians up to the plates.
Rossa PRADA Pirelli, generally regarded as a yacht that is molded for the lighter wind strengths, but that doesn't mean less work for the human power plant. That massive job in any breeze powering the hydraulics, which in turn trims these complicated sail systems. Co-helmsman Francesco Bruni and Jimmy Spithill are the benefactors of that power plant and hoping to guide Rossa successfully around the track to avoid going 0-2 right out of the blocks.
I think the important thing is when you come back from racing and a loss especially is just to be able to quickly review and identify where those losses were made, and we know what happened. You know, we made an error in our start. I think we pretty much had it on the final approach and then just went for a hook that we shouldn't have gone for, and course was very skewed. Right side very favored, and we were a little sloppy in our barrowways, but we've addressed that, and today we hopefully can come out with all those set aside, looking ahead and getting points on the board.
And going head-to-head with Rossa is Patriot.
Today is a big day for the New York Yacht Club's American Magic. 2 races on the table for a team eager to get their PRADA Cup on track with some points on the board. At the helm, Kiwi helmsman, America's Cup winner Dean Barker, Britain's gold medalist Paul Goodison trimming that massive mane. Andrew Campbell is pilot, and skipper Terry Hutchinson is on tactics. Their decision-making on day one was not up to scratch, and we're all keen to see how this quality outfit responds today.
Well, we know our first opponent's going to come out firing, and they're very aggressive in the pre-starts, so we have to have a good pre-start and have a good pre-start plan on what side of the course we want. It's going to be very shifty and pretty tough race course, so we'll have a plan and stick to it.
Day 2 of the PRADA Cup is being raced on course C right outside of Auckland Harbor. Boats begin the start process 2:10 before the start. Little bit of boat-on-boat combat, all the while trying to get the best of the other when the starting gun fires. Flying around an upwind, downwind 1.8-mile racetrack with narrow course boundaries. The boats will sail 3 laps, including a downwind finish in this very shifty 8 to 12 knot easterly breeze.
So there is Rossa PRADA Pirelli, all set to go. It's round robin number 1, the last race, and it will be race number 3 against American Magic and Patriot. Both these teams will want to bank at least a point before we go into the second phase of round robin, which will be the next race coming up, so stay with us. And here we go, Rossa PRADA Pirelli against American Magic. On the left-hand side of your screen, Rossa PRADA Pirelli, American Magic. The real question we need to understand is what the conditions are like out there. I think we need to go straight onto the water with Nathan Outeridge right there. And Nathan, talk to us about the conditions.
Yeah, hey Stephen, how are you doing? It's getting a little bit patchy out here. We saw the guys training around before foiling nicely, and right now I'm just next to Rossa, PRADA, Pirelli. They are under tow. The chase boat is towing them up onto the foil, and I think that's an indication of the breeze is dropping. You know, you can see in this picture right now, of course, there's enough breeze to foil. We're not going to have an issue with the minimum wind strength, but it is light, it is patchy, and it's a very different day to what it was yesterday. Plenty of spectators out here, and going to be a really tight tactical race.
Which side of the course is going to be stronger?
Well, initially I was looking that the right-hand side was going to be stronger, similar to what we thought it was yesterday, or what it was yesterday. But the clouds are starting to slowly dissipate. You know, we've got a lot of cloud cover at the moment. We're seeing a bit of blue sky, and we're seeing puffs of breeze dropping down on both sides of the course. Current-wise, there's a little bit stronger current on the right to the left, which means that I think you can get out of the current a little bit easier on the left-hand side. So it's more of an open course today than what we saw yesterday.
So Nathan, we know that the Italians have been shown to be a little bit better in the light stuff. Would you classify this a light air day right now or a medium air day? Who do you give the nudge to when it comes to how they have set up and motored their boats?
Yeah, currently right now it's definitely a light air day. It's averaging 10 knots, but we're seeing as light as 8 knots, and 8 knots is a marginal foiling tack, foiling maneuvers, gusting 12. So it's light to medium, and it's going to be about execution of these maneuvers and keeping the boats foiling and ripping.
Nathan, if it was you at the helm of one of these boats, where would you be going? What would you be doing?
On the spot.
Wow, I definitely would be protecting the right-hand side. I think it's better on the right than the left, and if I had to pick it, I'd be wanting to start to windward and rolling into that early tack.
Sounds very similar to yesterday, doesn't it, team? That right-hand side where INEOS Team UK got all their glory from yesterday. They will be second up, but this is round robin 1 and race number 3. Rossa, PRADA, Pirelli have port entry. They can't go ahead of 2 minutes 10 seconds, and they are in and on their way. And then they'll be followed in on the starboard entry by American Magic. And this is where yesterday we heard plenty going on.
Yeah, they're barely staying on their foils right now, Shirley. And they could get clipped with a starboard tack boat coming across here. American Magic on starboard, and wow, looks like the Italians just get across, and they're struggling to stay on their foils.
American Magic did a big upwind just to kind of show to the umpires, hey, look at us. We had to avoid them.
Let's take a listen and just see what both teams are talking about right now.
Copy.
This is all about being on your foils right now, Stephen. We saw some of this in the pre-regatta, in that World Series event. They need to try to figure out a way to get up on their foils. Both of them down right now. We're obviously going to race. They've started the sequence. There is no penalty on that dial down. And by the way, I agree. I don't think there was a foul there too. But this is just a panic situation. Get up on the foils on both boats.
This is a race to get flying, and it's very light now in the start box. Only 8 knots of breeze.
49 seconds to race start. And Rossa, PRADA, Pirelli back up on the fours. That's a strong sign for them.
They're up, but no way are the Americans up. The Americans are struggling to get up, and we know the foils on the Italian boat are really big and kind of built for this type of condition. I mean, in a way, this race could be over before it starts if they could just figure out how to stay on the foils.
20 seconds of counting to the start.
Yeah, got to go below.
Yeah, all good.
Nobody cares about the time right now, Stephen. It's just stay on the foil and get over that line however you possibly can.
In the water.
So officially, race underway. Rossa, PRADA, Pirelli. Round robin 1, race number 3, and they are off and racing. American Magic still not on their foils.
Function up, guys. 12 knots.
This is just, surely, this just throws, we knew this could potentially be sailboat racing like we've never seen before, but this just throws an incredible wrench into the situation for these teams. Falling off your foil can end the race immediately.
It's so high risk, isn't it? And we've seen, when Nathan said pre-start, they were towing around just to stay on the foils. I mean, the Italians doing double the speed coming off that line of their American opponents.
Well, the good news is American Magic is up. And you know, Nathan, the funny thing is, they have a small jib up. So if you're at home right now, seeing these boats struggle to get up, why not just add more sail area? Why take that risk with a small sail plan and risk kind of having a game-ending moment like this?
Well, about 20 minutes ago, it was about 3 knots windier, and just as they entered that pre-start, the breeze, for whatever reason, just completely shut down. There's still plenty of breeze on the course, don't get me wrong. On the top of the course, there is breeze again, and particularly in the middle where we can see American Magic tacking just next to us. But that starting box was lighter than both teams expected. You know, sail area is horsepower, and that really, you know, keeps you up on the foil, but neither team was expecting it to go below 8 knots there.
So let's go back to the start. Let's just remind you what happened in this race 3, round robin number 1.
Carnage. Really, we saw the Italians barely get across a starboard tack boat. Remember, the Americans have the right of way as they dialed into that starting box. But then both boats fell off the foils right after this happened. And by the way, the Americans protested, and the protest was not upheld. The jury decided that Luna Rossa did get across legally, but as we can see, it was close. Then it's just being on the foils, you know, who both teams fell off, who could get back up first, and that was the whole start.
We've seen PRADA pretty slippy in these light winds. They just seem to get out of the water, get unstuck. They're just slippier than, I think, everybody else. Also, running today asymmetric foils. They've got the old foil. You can see it now on the starboard side. And the new foil that we've just seen in this PRADA Cup on the port side. So keep an eye out for that. Let's see how they get on with it.
Similar speeds by both teams going on the first upwind leg. 27, 28 knots for Luna Rossa, and a similar number for American Magic.
A real funny puff to windward. Don't know if we'll get it.
Yeah.
1.8-mile racetrack here. We got 3 laps to go around.
Ready for ease.
Careful on the main sheet.
They're not being shy on the left side of the course right now. Nathan, is there enough pressure out there? You know, yesterday we saw the teams battling for the right. Today, they seem not too leery of that left side.
No, Kenny, it's definitely more open today. There are streaks of pressure, and where Luna Rossa have just tacked now, they've tacked in a nice piece of pressure. You know, these guys have got to position their maneuvers in good breeze, but I'm just positioned, the camera boat's right up near the top mark right now. The left turn, if they were to take the left turn, is going to send them into what looks like very light wind. So I expect both boats are going to need to position themselves for a right-hand turn. And just as I say that, I can see American Magic off the foil, completely parked right now. This is getting from bad to worse right now for Dean Barker and his crew.
The real question here now, Shirley, when you take a look on board Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli, is how to Bruni and Spittle manage these conditions with the advantage.
That's a good question, Stephen. I mean, as Kenny always says, keep your opponent between you and the hoop, and you just have to keep an eye on your opponent, and also old school kind of sailing, eyes out the boat, what's coming next, and try and join those areas of pressure together. And we can see that, well, we saw that in that shot on the left-hand side. Lovely little puff to take them into the top mark.
They're going to be ignoring their competitor right now, right? This is all about just staying, anything you can do to stay in the pressure, and that's I don't think they'll ever look behind again for the rest of the race. Just look for the pressure, stay on the foil.
Their biggest risk is when they fall off that foil, and we saw that before Christmas. You can go from 0 to 0 very quickly.
Good pressure, good pressure.
Okay, mine. Good puff heads, try and take off.
Every Italian fan in the world's heart is in their mouth when that happens.
He's in the water, okay? So it's all about staying out foiling.
It's going to be an early jibe.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no rush, no rush.
Copy.
Thank you, Francesco Bruni, for confirming what the commentating team has been talking about. So that's good news.
Nice smooth barrel away.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, and clear. Nice as one.
Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli around the mark for the first time at the top gate in this third race of round robin series 1. And you just know, if you look at that clock on the bottom right of your screen, that is going to blow out big time.
Yeah, painful. Painful situation if you're a fan of American Magic right now. And
on track.
yeah,
Okay, good.
brings a whole new world into these matches in this light air. Whole new world.
3.
Well, if we were to look forward to the next race, which has features INEOS Team UK and the discussions we've been having about light air, there will be nerves.
I don't know if you saw in that pre-start, but one of the shots showed INEOS in the background. Hold on, let's cut that thought. And are we going to get up?
Yeah, agreed.
Very high traveler, max power.
I'm watching their boat speed. It's a critical number here. And 16, 17, 18 knots. It's right on the edge, isn't it, the cusp of being able to fly.
Come to window, yeah? Come to window.
Yeah.
New back coming in 5, guys.
Shirley, just a quick update from on the water right now. Like Luna Rossa took that left-hand mark and sailed to what looked like to be less pressure. They are now sailing directly back upwind again, because the next line of pressure is actually coming from the other side of the course. So it looks like they're going to be sitting and waiting for another 20, 30 seconds, but potentially enough breeze to get foiling again soon. But what a race. This is not what we were expecting about 20 minutes ago.
Very tricky conditions here, Nathan. We've not seen this yet in the racing. It's cloudy. We don't get a lot of that here in Auckland. Really, it feels just like we're on the edge of something happening with the weather.
Just a reminder to you watching this third race to complete round robin 1 in the PRADA Cup. Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli has already been around the top gate, and the gap to American Magic is currently sitting at 2 minutes and counting. They are yet to get into the top gate and around.
Well, it's not too early to start talking about the clock, right? This is a 45-minute race limit, time limit. So if the race doesn't finish, if they don't do 6 legs, now they can shorten the course, which, by the way, they may, but still, this 45-minute time limit looms, and it's always in the back of the sailors' minds that if you're Luna Rossa right now, if you're Prada Luna Rossa, that's more of a challenger than American Magic is right now, right?
Spot on. I mean, I'm just looking at their numbers. They have 8 knots of true wind speed. They're doing 12 knots of boat speed. I think 16, 18 knots is the magic number, and they're a long way off that.
Nice and smooth here, the displacement drive.
Imagine how that feels, Kenny, on board.
Well, you know, the whole sailing world, a lot of the sporting world is watching you right now. Why don't they just get up on the foils? Well, it ain't that easy, folks. This is a real struggle for these boats, obviously. In the super light breeze, they don't have code zeros on board. They don't have big asymmetric Jennekers on board. I was kind of half joking with a couple of the teams after the World Series event that we saw. Why don't they carry asymmetrics and put them up in a situation like this? They don't think they'd still finish at the time limit.
Also, it's a massive foil in the water. All that drag. It's hard to get up and running.
That's what you would call well and truly beached at the moment. Yeah. It's not a beach, but they look pretty much beached right now. That's Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli, whose lead continues to stretch out because quite simply of light air, but they did manage to get around the top gate for the first time, and American Magic are praying for some wind, trying to find where that wind is coming from. When's it coming? 4 minutes and 30 and counting.
But the 4:30 doesn't, in a way, doesn't mean anything, right? I mean, but I totally get it. We need to judge them about something. Like Nathan just said, they're actually going back closer to the mark right now just to try to find some wind. Remember the World Series event where Luna Rossa was way ahead The Kiwis got on their foils and they put a half a leg on them in no time. So in this type of condition, nobody's ever out of the race. So that's the good news. Look at the two boats are on opposite legs of the on opposite legs, and they're going the same direction.
Well, we've just heard that they've actually shortened this race to 4 legs. That probably still seems like a long way to go.
Particularly if you're American Magic. Luna Rossa, PRADA, Pirelli have plenty of supporters at the America's Cup Village, and they'll be happy there at the front, but there are still 3 legs to race.
Best pressure looks over here at the moment.
Let's have a listen on board. Let's go on board Luna Rossa, PRADA, Pirelli, see what they're thinking right now. They are the ones in the lead, so to speak.
Easing here for sure.
Okay, just pressing a little here.
Pressure, easing, up and trimming. Yeah.
Channel feature.
7 knots.
Just a reminder, it started out as a 6-leg race. We are now down to 4 legs because of the wind conditions. We know the race committee and all of us watching this want to see these races completed. This is the PRADA Cup Challenger Series. The winner of this whole series goes on to challenge Emirates Team New Zealand in the Cup match starting March 6.
With pressure in 5, eh? Take off here, guys.
Okay, go camp down.
Ready to trim all the way. Stop in front.
Stand by.
They will be patient supporters today.
1 pump.
Just like
going to be straight into a jive here.
They're pumping the mainsail to try to get the thing up on the foils.
Doesn't matter the boundary.
Just in time, just at that boundary.
Come on this side. We'll take off for sure.
Yeah. Easy mention first. Coming.
Hey guys, just quickly from on board here, American Magic are close to taking off at the top marks. There's breeze that has come down the course. If they can get up on the foil, there's a chance of a lead change coming here. So just be ready, it's coming.
I can hear the whistling of their foils, Stephen.
As soon as we can join.
Anywhere you like.
American Magic up and foiling and finally around their mark at the top gate. The gap 7 minutes 38 might mean nothing at the end of this. If they have found the win, Luna Rossa, PRADA, Pirelli are in trouble.
I think Luna Rossa just popped out of the water at the same time. So obviously this breeze just came across the course. Both boats are now out of the water. We're back to game on. And that, by the way, that whatever the time was is absolutely irrelevant at this stage. We're back to a ball game.
7 minutes and 38 seconds.
Nope.
Just reminding you.
Sorry, pal. Don't mean a thing right now. What means everything is obviously, Nathan, that puff that you saw that was coming down the racetrack seems to have come across the race course, and they're going to be able to stay up.
Yeah, Kenny, the pressure's definitely come down the race course. You can see both boats up and foiling now, but American Magic seem to have stronger pressure. Luna Rossa are going on that far side from them now. They're going down, I guess, the right-hand side of the course as you look downwind. But it's probably 11 knots where American Magic are. And Luna Rossa, PRADA, Pirelli, these boats are so fast, they're so efficient. They're actually sailing out of the front of the pressure. So I can see this race getting closer and closer this whole downwind.
Very good point. So, Stephen, you're looking ahead on these boats. All of us have been looking our whole lives at breeze behind when we go downwind. These guys are sailing continually into lighter air ahead of them on Luna Rossa. So, yeah, that's going to mean that this could be a complete restart here, and these boats could be right next to each other, as they are, in no time.
American Magic closing in on Luna Rossa, PRADA, Pirelli. Look at the dashboard, sitting at just under 28 knots. And Luna Rossa, PRADA, Pirelli sitting around 21. So this has truly turned into game on again, Shirley.
It's so nerve-wracking, isn't it? I mean, no, nothing in it. Absolutely nothing in it.
Oh, Luna Rossa is almost off their foils again.
Nathan's right. You sail in a boat this fast. You get in front of the puff. You get back into the no-wind area.
Let's have a listen on board American Magic, because he is certainly holding on, Dean Barker.
Yeah, they're launched. Right now, they're launched. Now, do they sail out of the breeze again, Nathan, or can they stay in it on that side of the race course?
Tell you what, if they make this jibe and keep it on the foils, they could disappear here. But what I'm actually seeing, we're on the other boundary. We're a long way from them right now. But it seems like the breeze is just not going down this course. It seems like about halfway down the track, it's only about 5 knots of breeze. So I think we're going to be very stop-start down this run. I think the lead is going to change a bit. You'll get a puff, you'll get up in foiling, and then you'll just sail out of the front of it again and then just stop.
We heard Barker.
It's going to be an incredibly frustrating downwind for everyone.
Take it all down.
Sorry, we heard Barker say, "Come on, breeze." There is a chance for all of us as sailors. Surely, we do beg from time to time. We beg for help from the wind gods. Neither of them got it in this particular case.
Your best build.
Not much wind where they are. 7 knots where American Magic is now.
On board American Magic, who have cut a lead that doesn't mean anything anymore. But they were behind 7 minutes and 38 seconds, and now both are stranded somewhat again on this course. Let's have a listen.
Go car out.
Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli. What's going through their mind?
It's hard to figure out what direction they're going at this stage. Here they're jibing, I think, at the border of the race course, back on starboard tack, and 45 minutes is looming, isn't it, Shirley?
American Magic hardly ahead,
over there,
but I'm not sure how much
he's
that
kind of
is.
parked.
Yeah, I think he'll be thinking about
No, it's just 45 for the race.
going. So what we don't want to do is go too far and then find
From a pressure perspective, this is the best spot for me.
Maybe you can call Louise.
Yep, standing by. Go out. The only thing is current's better down the side, isn't it? If we don't, then we're in foil. But
If we're not going to foil, you got to get going that way as well.
The Italians are parked at this stage. This is incredible.
A little pressure to come. Still doesn't look like enough yet, though.
And the
A little more easy than Jube, I think, from me anyway. You can see the lead, so.
So that'll be 4 o'clock.
So good pressure up on the left.
2 laps now.
On board Luna
Speed's
Rossa,
building.
PRADA Pirelli. You can hear the voice of one of the helmsmen, Jimmy Spittle, Francesco Bruni, the other one, saying, "It's building, Kenny, it's building." But we're just going to have to wait and see how quickly it does build.
I think I keep heading to this puff, Petra.
7-minute lead disappears to 7 minutes behind right now. But again,
2.5 delay at this.
current going with them, it looks like, going downwind with them, which isn't helping, by the way. That actually hurts. That actually slows the wind speed down for these guys.
Anything else, you'd take right gate, and protect against the left pressure, looking upwind.
Hey, Ken, just looking up the course once again, there's a huge lead now to American Magic, but there is a small puff coming down, and if Luna Rossa can pick up that pressure, this race could change once again. But to me, this race reminds me a lot about these marginal foiling conditions. We all know foiling is extremely fast, but once you're not foiling, you're basically a stationary object. So the decision right now for these teams is, do we just drift down at wind speed at 4 or 5 knots of boat speed, or do we actually sail across the course 90 degrees, to the wind, making no VMG at all? But if you can do that and you can get up on the foil, which it looks like Luna Rossa just have done as I'm speaking here, then all of a sudden you'll be doing 30 knots again. So it's all about from here for Luna Rossa. If they can make this next jibe and keep the boat on the foil and start linking these puffs together, the person who can do that all the way to the bottom mark is going to have a pretty commanding lead.
Only a 30-knot speed difference between the boats right now, Nathan. 30 knots.
Yeah, I think we're going to hold here at the moment. We're going to push this boundary.
Yeah, can these boats have 2 speeds, flat out or stopped? And right now, one of them's doing one and one's doing the other.
Okay. Tighter here. Tighter, trim.
Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli back up and foiling on the second of a now 4-leg race, race number 3 of round robin series 1 to complete the first round robin phase. And that will make the fans that are at the America's Cup Village supporting Luna Rossa very happy indeed. I've got to love Nathan's line, linking the pups together, Shirley.
It's not easy when you're going this fast and the wind's traveling at 10 knots at best. I mean, that's really difficult, Stephen. We're just 16 minutes into this start. Remember, a 45-minute time limit, and we've heard the guys on board start to work it out, but one more lap to go after this one.
Rolling into a jibe here pretty soon. 3, 51 knots, 2, 1, down. Feels like we should be able to commit it to taking off straight out of this.
Oh, the frustration. Honestly, you can't underestimate the frustration in a situation like this.
That will make all the supporters of Luna Rossa very happy indeed. Falling towards the bottom mark.
Until they pop off. Be careful, don't jinx them. Don't give them the commentator's jinx here.
Well, normally we'd probably be halfway through on a good 3 legs. We're trying to complete the second leg of now a 4-leg race.
The Americans are close, 22 knots. That's a good speed. They should be able to pop that, and sure enough, they do. They're out, and they're going to be going 30 knots. This race is not even close to being over, right, Cheryl? I mean, not even close.
No way. If you're Luna Rossa, what are you going to do in this next leg? Where are you going to go?
No, it's all right. It's just light, that's all. We might get there.
Speed for the jibe.
I have to love the calm demeanour of Jimmy Spindler. I've never heard anyone so cool under pressure. Yeah, it's been like, we're okay.
Good anyway, just keep speed.
Yeah, just straight turn.
Yeah. Trim, boys.
A little power here if you can.
Trim.
Turning in 3, 2, 1, turning.
Okay.
Okay, no more main. I'm just a little tight rudder.
Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli around the bottom gate for the first time. The next time they hit that gate, if they are in the lead, they will win the race.
That was so critical. They just made that mark, Shirley. You heard Francesco Bruni say, sorry about the ley line. They actually cut that ley line shy, but did a masterful job to get down to the mark and not risk another jibe and potentially coming off the foil. So that was really important for the Italians in this part of the race.
Yeah, crucial moment. You cannot afford to come off the foil.
American Magic approaching the bottom gate for the first time. The lead a lot slimmer than it was the first time around.
3, 2, 1, turn it up now.
That's how you cut a lead down from 7 minutes and 38 seconds to 60 seconds.
I'm going to take this clock away from you if you're not careful. Both boats, I've never said this in my commentating career, both boats had a half a leg lead at one stage during this race, right? Half a leg lead, and the race still isn't over. It's not even close to over. Another one of these little puff lull situations, and we're right back to a big lead change. So hold on, folks. This is welcome to the new America's Cup.
And a little bit more pressure now.
2, 1, more down.
So Kenny just cruising up the side of the course right now next to Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli. They're in a great piece of pressure. Looks like it's left phase, but at the top of the course, it's looking glassy again. So I think they'll make this next tack on the foil, no worries, but it's what's going to happen in 3-4 minutes from now that could really determine this race. I hate to say it, but I think we'll have another car park at the top mark.
190.
It's never over.
Shirley's got a big grin on her face. I mean, I feel terrible for these sailors. We know how frustrated they are, but at the same time, this is entertaining for a light air race.
Prepare for the marginal tech. Speed, 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 speed. Pressure coming in 5.
5. 3.
Pressure here. Yeah.
2. 1. 4 down.
We're hearing from Francesco Bruni, who steers the boat on the port side.
Am I runner?
Calm voices on board Luna Rossa.
Am I Trev?
Yeah, of course.
Jimmy, what's the problem with the slider?
Yeah, I was getting jammed.
Okay, copy. So you know how to do it, right?
Yeah, I'm going to fix it now.
Yeah.
Okay, trimming up.
Yeah.
Is to leeward, is stack to leeward.
It's got a little more build here. Got a little too much bite on the back of the boat.
Copy.
Okay, good numbers. Start coming on the breeze, Pietro.
Manage a little bit as soon as possible.
Looking for power, boys. Going light.
Yeah.
Full power mode here. Very soft up here.
Yeah.
36 is the boundary stroke. We need a big aggressive speed build here. Building at 2.
Looks like history is better than boundary. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not quick enough here. Standing by. 2. 1. More down. Turning.
Surely you heard Dean Barker say aggressive speed build right here. I think it becomes irrelevant that they're even heading towards the mark. They want to just go as fast as possible before they go into a turn to stay up on the foils, right?
No, I agree. I mean, Dean went into that tacting 28 knots of boat speed, and we saw they had a, well, they're in. I mean, they had a tiny touchdown at 18 knots.
Kind of a choice.
And now they're in.
It's going to be a super marginal tack.
Tell you what, PRADA is not in good shape here right now, too. They're only 20 knots. That is dangerously... They're coming down in this
Very
tack.
soft out of
I
this,
hate
boys.
to break the news to you.
Okay, going takeoff mode.
Take off.
You can't go into manoeuvre sub 20 knots and be confident of coming out flying.
And there's the perfect example of what you just said, Shirley. Touchdown, Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli. Still with the lead, but
See we go.
both
Displacement trim until we see something to take off.
basically coasting.
Restart time, though. Again, if you're an American Magic fan, it's exactly what you wanted to have happen. If they're just both foiling around the race course for the rest of the race, you're probably going to lose. So Nathan, is there any puff coming to either side, to either one of these guys? I guess for the Italians, at least they're kind of upwind of the Americans. So if something comes to the Americans, it's probably coming to them first.
Well, Kenny, that's bang on cue. Right now, both boats are parked, probably about 6 knots of breeze, but we're just on the right-hand side, almost on the ley line to the top mark in the camera cat, and I've got 10 knots of breeze. So the first person who can get over to this right-hand side of the track should be in good shape. Luna Rossa are much further upwind, so this breeze is definitely going to get them first. The real question is can they link this pressure, get around the mark, and keep foiling downwind? You know, you definitely have the advantage if you're foiling, if you're ahead upwind, but if you're not foiling downwind, I think that boat behind is going to pick up the putt. So more breeze coming. We should see them both foiling in about 2 to 3 minutes.
Nathan, you're in this displacement mode. I mean, what do you do? How do you set it up? What can you do?
Well, you've got to decide, are you trying to go for takeoff or are you trying to go slow? I can see right now, looks like American Magic tacking. Very slow right now, but to take off, you have to ease the sails. You have to let the sails breathe. You have to get the boat flatter or maybe even heel to windward, generate some speed, and as soon as you get enough speed, you go flaps down on the foil, generate the lift, trim the sails on as fast as you can, and like pump it up. And as you can see here now, Luna Rossa up and foiling. They got that pressure nicely. And as you can hear Bruni just say there, pressure is at North Head. That's exactly where we're sitting. And if they nail this tack, I think this could be a huge advantage for them.
And the other part of the equation is this: 15 minutes and counting now to go to the 45-minute time limit for the race. And we've only got, when Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli complete their turn around the top mark, 1 leg to go. So is Mother Nature going to play ball and see this race completed inside 15 minutes?
Was that a question? Because I don't know the answer.
Well, you know what? I was sort of just throwing it out there.
Yeah, that's good. That's why you're the best in the business, Stephen. This is just about being on the foils.
Pressure's all right at the moment.
My trap, easing air.
Pressure's all right, Spithill says. So that's where they are on the race course, and that should be advantageous. But like Nathan said, connecting the dots downwind has the boat ahead because you're going so much faster than the puffs. You know, that's the thing that we all have to get our heads around. These guys are connecting the puffs in front of them downwind, not the puffs behind, like most of us mere mortals sail in our normal boats with spinnakers and asymmetric spinnakers. They're looking ahead for their puffs. And if it's light air down the track, you're just not going to go anywhere until it finally catches up with you, until these slow-moving puffs catch up with you.
Must be an incredible test for a sailor trying to fly these boats, surely.
Well, I mean, they know their boats inside out, and actually it's a joy, isn't it, to eavesdrop into that speed communication between. I mean, it's fantastic on PRADA. We hear Jimmy, we hear Bruno. You know, we hear the flight controller Sabello as well. I mean, just tiny detail makes a massive difference into the spiral of getting the boat flying.
Trimming up, boys. Big trap, big trap.
Yeah. Big trap, big trap.
Go, Jim. Jim on.
That's interesting. They keep calling for big trap. That trap is barely moving. It's moving really slow on that.
Go straight and early job.
Yeah.
Easing, horseman, power.
Quickly, it's soft again at the top, Mark. This is a pretty stressful moment for Rossa. They're barely foiling and it's getting lighter.
Chicago almost losing the rudder a little.
Sorry, yeah. Chicago is fine. No rush. There is a decent pressure on the left, Mark.
Out
no rush.
Up 40.
Not too bad. Not too bad on the left side.
Copy.
Those are the voices of Francesco Bruni and Jimmy Spithill.
2-1 clear.
Easing.
Rossa, PRADA Pirelli now on the homeward leg. And time is counting.
3, 2,
but they are through the top gate for the last time on this shortened race of now 4 legs.
Yeah, all good, PJ.
It's all on them to stay on those foils and complete the race before 4 o'clock this afternoon. So they've got 12 minutes to get to the finish line.
So that was interesting. You heard Francesco Bruni call for a Chicago.
We all know what it is now, Kenny.
It's that 2 foil in the water, jibe, right?
You stay there, Pietro, okay?
The jibe, yeah.
Stand by jibe. 3. You are there, PG? 2, 1. 4 down. Very light on the line on. They're running the pressure, obviously.
Yep.
Nathan, they're literally just jibing right down one individual puff, aren't they?
Not too bad.
They are, exactly. I was about to come in. There's about 200 metres wide, this skinny little puff. And there's no pressure on the right-hand side of the course right now. It's just this skinny little slither of breeze down the left that they're trying to stay in, but they keep running out of the front of it.
Running it all the time. 2, 1. Just watch the kink. You got to keep turning.
Yeah. Keep turning.
And what a different story on board American Magic. The cow makes its presence felt again. Well, that's the cow noise. And they have not been foiling for some time and yet to complete the 3rd leg. We know we are on the final leg for Rossa PRADA Pirelli. And they seem to be picking up speed and finding some wind.
But for some reason, I think this race is not over. I don't know. Call it a male intuition.
You've been calling that all day. You're waiting for this to close up again inside 11 minutes.
I like tight boat races. This is not one as we speak, but it's just a minefield of light air out there, and you just never know when it's going to bite you. Never know when it's your turn.
The Italians sailing pretty high angles, even though they're flying. I mean, they're bouncing off those boundaries.
It's literally, Shirley, anything they can do. Head upwind, downwind, any direction, just stay up.
If you are just watching this for the first time, the boat on your right is Rossa PRADA Pirelli. They are on the final leg. The boat on the left is American Magic. They are yet to complete the third leg because they have been basically hit with calm conditions and looking for the wind, trying to find these puffs. It looks good at the moment for Rossa. Not so for American Magic.
They're up on the foils, though. That's the good news is. So they're one drop down ahead. But these guys are going 40 knots in 8 knots of breeze. How do you... What is that happening?
Be a little soft out of this.
Well, Kenny, we're in the camera cat chasing them. They managed to get through the center of the course, which looked like it was glassy. Picked up this puff. There's almost 12 knots of breeze, but it's super narrow. And, you know, they've got a huge lead, but they've got to keep jibing down the other boundary now if they want to keep it on the foil to the bottom of this course.
Nathan, is it your impression that the Italians, they're quite slippy? They seem to at times just sort of kiss the water and manage to get back up again.
Stand by.
Yeah, Shell, it's a great point. Their foils are bigger, so they appear to have better control or better lift at lower speeds, but the hull also, I think, is quite streamlined. The hull can touch, it can skim, but it doesn't add too much drag. And they're very calm on board. We've all been listening to them. They sound pretty calm. They sound like they're pretty composed and happy to do lots of maneuvers. So, they've still got a few hundred meters to go here. And again, they've just outrun this pressure. But from what I can see, they should be able to keep it on the foil to the finish from here.
Finish line where? The bottom gate or start? Okay.
3 minutes, all over.
You got green, yeah?
Rossa PRADA Pirelli on the run home in race 3 of round robin 1 and closing on their first point of this PRADA Cup Challenger Series. You can see the finishing line with the magnificent Rangitoto in the background.
All the way to boundary and drive. Trim.
Francesco Bruni says all the way to the boundary and jive. They like the pressure out on this side of the race course right now. They're just trying to survive this at this stage.
I love that shot from behind, just looking how clean it is. That, the main, there's no visible boom. It's just tidy and beautiful and aero. Great design.
They put an exceptional amount of camber, amount of curvature in the bottom of their mainsail, I've noticed, especially compared to American Magic. So they really add depth, especially on the leeward side, on this, the left-hand side on this twin-skin mainsail, add an incredible amount of depth.
Rossa PRADA Pirelli about to finish and win race number 3 of round robin number 1. And why wouldn't you be happy after how this race has unfolded with calm conditions? But most importantly in this PRADA Cup Challenger Series, Rossa get their first point on the board and beat American Magic.
Okay, my rake coming up in 2, 1, nice and smooth. Trim.
So when you talk about an ability to manage a race course, today, Rossa did the job.
Did the job. They probably had the horse for the course a little bit, right? A little more slippery, maybe a little bigger foil set. Certainly, like we said, we talked about the camber that they can put in this mainsail setup. Hey, give credit where credit is due, right? You win a race, you win a race. But at the same time, Shirley, you got to feel bad for... these guys were a half a leg ahead at one stage on American Magic, and a lot of times it's a bit of the luck of the draw maybe at the same time. I mean, again, I'm not trying to take anything away from the win by the Italians.
Yeah, we just heard quite an audible sigh from the helmsman on the American boat, Team Barker. This is tough, but I agree with you. I felt the Italians were a little bit slippy, but also just listening to the onboard comms, there was a lot more of it today. It was very calm. It was very confident. Obviously, they know they're quick, but even when the Americans were ahead, they just kept it calm. They kept talking it through, looking for the next opportunity.
I'm going to avoid the clock and the gap to the team that finishes behind Luna Rossa, because it's immaterial now, because it's going to be quite a large gap. It will be in the record book. Do you want to put a number on it, Kenny, just for the heck of it?
I'm not going to take your bait on this one, there, Chief. I'm going to stay away from the clock and say that, like the Queen said a long time ago, or somebody said to the Queen, there is no second in match racing. So I don't think the sailors consider the clock an issue.
And Stephen, for this team we're looking at now, I mean, they have another race.
You may have not heard my earlier
today.
transmission,
So
but that race finished at the last lure gate. You have completed the race.
Okay. They'll be pleased about that, actually, because they need to regroup. They need to get their head into facing INEOS in not very long from now.
Little ease on the windward sheet, please, Mac.
So this is going to be intriguing, because we come back to the narrative of the last 24 hours and light air. And we're at the top of the broadcast today. Under an hour ago, we spoke about the magnificent job that INEOS Team UK had done. They are up next, but they were in medium air that suited their upgrades, and Ben Ainsley himself said it was a massive jump in performance. But, quote, I honestly don't know, when he was asked the question about light air. And today we are going to find out. But to take it a step further, this is still all about development moving forward.
Okay, that's fair. That is a very fair point and a good point. But, Shirley, let's put ourselves on these two boats. First of all, Luna Rossa, they're done for the day. In this minefield of a race course, you're just so relieved. Please take me back to the dock so we can be done with this day, and hopefully we come out in a little bit better day tomorrow. They're huge amount of relief. If you're on the British boat, you're thinking, come on, Breeze, die, go away. Let's not even start this next race. And you know what? On the American boat, you might be thinking the same thing. Can we just end this day? But there are rules. If it's blowing over 6.5 knots on the race committee boat, they have to race, right? That's the way it is.
Yeah. If you ask them that question, though, they want to race. I mean, especially at this part of the PRADA Cup, they want to find out stuff. They want data. They want numbers. You know, and you think, I think they have something like 600 sensors coming off their own boat, but they're also learning. You know, they would have been all over Luna Rossa then. Just what have they got? What are they doing? Where's the games? So it's a huge learning opportunity too.
How's your clock doing down there, Steve?
Well, they still haven't called the race. Here's the key. They still have not called the race, and so...
Well, they said it's over.
Yeah, I know, but the clock's still ticking. So as far as I'm concerned, the clock's ticking, the race is not over.
We're never going to get you off of this clock thing. We just aren't going to do it, are we?
I think even at this early stage of any regatta... Sorry, Nathan, I'll be with you in 2 seconds. When you've got a campaign backed by the powerhouses that back this American Magic campaign, and the fact that it's the New York Yacht Club, the conversations that will continue to go on late into the night will be serious.
Yeah, but
there's nothing much you can do about the win.
Early days. This is not a group full of panic. This is not a group that is even going to judge. They're going to look at a day like today and say, oh, okay, what are you going to do? Sorry. What are you going to do? And Nathan, there's no way that these groups start feeling the heat as of yet. We're still too early in this competition.
Great job.
Totally. It's only been a couple of races, hasn't it?
Has been terminated. We've reached the time limit. We intend to start round robin 2, race 1.
I mean, I'm surprised the American team haven't asked for their chase boat to come in. I mean, they have finished.
30 minutes. Terminated the race here, guys.
Yeah, the race is terminated. Let's get your head into, you know, what is next, not what has happened. What changes can we make? What do we think of the race course? It's very quiet as well on the American boat. They need a bit of oomph to get going to face INEOS.
So is this wind dying or coming on, Nathan?
Well, I was just trying to say, I was just watching American Magic just drifting at the top mark in what didn't look like much wind, but there is breeze coming down the course, and more importantly, that race was obviously over for them. I could see Ben Ainsley chomping at the bit on one side of the racecourse, trying to get into the racecourse to do some warm-up laps. He sat here, been watching for an hour, you know, these two teams sailing, and all he wants to do is get on the water and get into it. Whereas American Magic, they've got to drop that jib and change it because that jib's not big enough. So going to be a frantic 15 minutes before this next race for both teams coming up.
Confirmation we have completed the first round robin of 4 in this 2021 PRADA Cup Challenger Series. And the win goes to Rossa, PRADA Pirelli, and a DNF for American Magic. And so Rossa gets their first point on the board.
Well, this had a couple key moments, but obviously this was a moment that we hadn't seen before. Both boats coming into the starting box and obviously both struggling to stay on their foils. In fact, there's a near foul. The starboard tack boat, which is American Magic, comes down. They actually push the protest button here that the port tack boat, or the giveaway boat, Rossa, fouled them, but sure enough, that was not accepted by the umpires. Now we get to the tough part. It's trying to stay up, and they couldn't get up. And one boat was ahead by almost a half a leg at one stage. The other boat was ahead by a half a leg at one stage. It was really, it's kind of makes your skin crawl sometimes trying to watch these things get out of the water. Sure enough, there goes American Magic. They make a big gain and actually blow by and get a big lead, but back in the water. And surely it was really difficult to watch at times, but at the other times, it actually brings a layer of excitement into the game.
Okay.
I think in the debrief, they'll look back at this turning at gate 2 as one of the key moments. I mean, they kept their pace, beautiful rounding, didn't lose anything, and managed to stay on the foils for most of the next leg. American Magic, certainly, you'd have to say, I think it's okay to say, they have a harder time staying on their foils because probably just the sheer size of the foils. These guys jibed 10 times on that last run just trying to stay in the puff. They use this new term called Chicagoing. So we learn something new every day.
What do I use on the win sheet, please, Mac?
Mangawika North Head, a beautiful spot to watch the racing on. Basically what is now Course C. It was going to be a mix of Course C and D today, but that's the perfect place to watch what you would call stadium racing. Let's go on board Rossa, PRADA Pirelli, and get some reaction. I understand we're going to be speaking with Francesco Bruni. And Francesco, congratulations. You pick up your first point in what was a very challenging race. How challenging?
It was very challenging. We are very, very happy. It's one of those races that you can win or lose very easily. Was really demanding for the boys. It's almost like harder for them in the lighter wind than the stronger wind power-wise. So they've done a fantastic job, really. The boat was always with enough power to pump, to take off, so I'm very proud of the team today.
Hey, Francesco, nice job. And you know, one big question for Bill. Well, first of all, one statement. There are many days that we would rather be in that boat having fun like you are. This is not one of them. That looked excruciating. And
yes.
But anyway, your boat seems to pop out of the water pretty good, you know, pretty cleanly. And do you think you have an advantage in that kind of marginal conditions with your setup that you have right now?
Yeah, I think so. I think in the light wind, definitely our big foils are helping us. It's a combination of things, probably sails, power in the sails, power in the foils. Yeah, we like the light wind, definitely. But today was kind of weird because it was more of getting on in the path. So you had the difference of 3-4 knots, and I think it was not so much a matter of little speed edge. Was was a matter of staying the pressure, and I think we did a good job.
Francesco, it's Shirley here. We've been really enjoying your comms, listening to the onboard communication. Just tell me, you know, how difficult is it to stay calm and to piece it all together?
Shirley, is by far the hardest. To keep it calm is by far the hardest thing, I tell you. It's you nailed it. It's very hard, especially for Italians, I think.
All right, Francesco, grazie. Thank you for your time. We'll talk to you again as the PRADA Cup rolls on. You are on the board, my friend.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Hope to talk to you soon.
Let's now go on board American Magic. Dean Barker on the helm. And Dean, quite simply, that's what you call a tough day at the office.
Yeah, it's you call that a lottery. Yeah, it was pretty marginal. You know, you you question why we want to do that as part of the event, but anyway, it is what it is. So you know, it's going to swing in roundabouts, and yeah, obviously didn't go that well for us in that one.
Yeah, that looked like a struggle, Dean. It just didn't look like any fun, first of all. Secondly, a lot of people keep asking me why, when it's marginal, that you guys aren't using the biggest headsail you possibly can. Both boats actually sail with smaller headsails. Is it that much of a penalty once the boat gets up flying to have larger sails? Why wouldn't you just err on the side of caution and go with a big sail?
Well, you know, we're leading up to the start, and you know, like what we're expecting for the race, we didn't expect to be sailing in that light of breeze. So you know, I think it was a bit of a surprise that it got so light. But anyway, we're get back down there now and get ready for the next one.
Dean, it's Shirley here. I mean, you're just about to face INEOS again. Just quickly, you know, what were your takeaways from that first race? What can you change going into the next race?
Well, you know, I think it's just connecting the dots. You know, I'm sure everyone's obviously struggling with that. Yeah, hang on, we're just taking off here, so.
Dean, we'll let you get into it, mate. We appreciate it. We'll let you get into it. You set yourself up. Hey, good luck against INEOS Team UK, mate. That's Dean Barker on board American Magic, who now will face INEOS Team UK in race 1 of round robin number 2.
Well, this says it all, and you just got to look at the speeds. The speeds clearly are in the Italians' favor by not a couple knots, by many, many, many knots. The distance sailed is a little deceiving because they actually completed the race course, whereas the Americans did not complete the race course. So it's really about the speed, and imagine this, folks, top speed of over 40 knots in marginal foiling conditions. So again, these boats both in crazy ways keep surprising us every time we watch a race at this stage.
Let's now look at the efficiency analysis. Now, if I looked at this, Kenny, I'd get a little confused. So break this down for the dum-dum beside you.
Yeah, Shirley, this is high speeds and low speeds, and you really see such a huge variation. Low speeds down below 5 knots, first of all. And the Americans obviously struggled with much larger sections of being off the foils.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really indicative, isn't it, of just how slippy the Italians are.
Can I just play the simple game here? Sure. So the squiggles under the dotted green line are
bad.
Dropping off your fours, and you need more when you do it. You want to be above the line.
Well, on the left side is the boats, is the actual speeds, and along the bottom, along the parallel, is where you are on the race course. And yeah, you want to be way up high on this chart, up near 50 knots rather than down near 0, which some of these boats spent, unfortunately, an inordinate amount of time.
Let's now move on, shall we, to the key moment of this race, because it basically said it all.
Well done, Jimmy.
Well, the Italians slightly late into the box. I also think there was a bias on the line, which really was difficult for them.
Yeah, they just barely got across, and then it's a matter of being on their both boats started the race not on their foils, if I remember correctly, especially American Magic definitely did. Maybe the Italian, this is now just about both boats trying to survive this light air area and get back up on their foils. And they obviously have different techniques. And as Francesco Bruni says, they think they're a little more slippery. They got a little more lift out of those foils when it comes to actually being able to get up and out of the water in really marginal conditions.
But what we know right now is simply this. That boat in front of you right there, Rossa PRADA Pirelli, has bagged their first win of the PRADA Cup and have completed round robin number 1. So now we get ready for a 4:30 local time start for the start of round robin phase number 2 and race number 1 between INEOS Team UK and American Magic.
Italy, you do have a penalty. You do have a penalty.
Give me some hot. Go up. Back up. What are these guys doing? Hey! Protest here. Too close.
We're racing, right?
In any sport we play, it's crucial to know the rules of the game. Every sport has its own set of rules. In sailing, they clarify who has the right of way in different scenarios, and they get used strategically in match racing to gain the upper hand. Break a rule, and your opponent will protest. And if the umpires agree, you'll be given a penalty. With these AC-75s, if there is a protest and a foul, boat on boat, you have to put the brakes on, slow down, and slide back until you're 50 meters behind your competitor. If it is a boundary penalty, or when the boats are on different legs, the infringing yacht must simply drop back 50 meters with no regard to the competing yacht.
This is the umpires, we're turning the penalty off.
Then, you wait until the umpires tell you you're good to go, which means it's game on.
So just giving you an insight as to what this amazing game, you might call it, of sailing is all about. It has changed completely with these revolutionary AC-75s, and the spectator fleet is out and about on a Saturday afternoon in Auckland. We've just been notified by the race management committee that the next race, which is the opening race of round robin 2, race number 1 between INEOS Team UK and American Magic, will now start at local time 4:45. That's 4:45, the race start for the next race. And I've got to go back just briefly to Rossa, who have picked up their first point in the PRADA Cup. And those folks watching there, lots of Rossa fans out there as well. Lots of INEOS Team UK fans. But Nathan made a really interesting point about the design of Rossa PRADA Pirelli. We know it's a bella boat, but the slippiness and the ability to not get sort of sucked into the water, so to speak, when there are light conditions.
There are no hard corners on that boat, either in the water or above in the aero package. It's all about just getting out the water. But the interesting thing for me with the Italians is if they've optimized perhaps too much for the light airs. We know they're confident in sort of sub 12, 13 knots, but really interesting to see how they get on in a bit more breeze. Maybe they've gone, too much one way, Steve.
Well, we have talked, Kenny, about the fact that, yes, they're a great light to medium air boat, but if you get I wonder how much development they need to do and where should that development come to be more stable and heavier wind.
Well, there's no question that there's such a thing as being too good in one condition, right? So, for example, is INEOS too good in a breeze? Is PRADA too good in the light, There is such a thing. So you can't just say, let's get better in heavy air, because that takes away from something. There's no question about it.
Well, it falls back into the comment that Ben Ainsley of INEOS said about their boat alone. We need to be good across all wind ranges. But I go back to Jimmy Spittle in the practice racing of last week, which we were fortunate enough to see and others didn't see. And he said, we're living on the edge here. And I wonder how far, when you talk about heavy conditions, where's the limit?
You have to be on the edge. If you're not on the edge, you're going to be slow.
Yeah.
You know, you can't have a lovely stable setup and great lots of rudder in the water. You cannot have that, or you will be slow. So it's that balance all the time. And as they get better and better at sailing these boats, the more on the edge they will become.
I've got to say, when you talk about being on the edge, and you have Francesco Bruni and Jimmy Spittle, and you talk that beautiful question you asked them about, being calm, and well, if you're Italian, you're not really that calm, are you? You want to be throwing your arms about. But how calm they were in that race. They were just simply under control. Maybe that's just and maybe that is part of their magic formula.
Well,
it's a maybe with quotation. It's a maybe with the, quotation marks.
We'll see, but I think it helps having the two helms, because there's a sort of constant dialogue, about the speed and the trimming loop, and also the tactics. And I mean, that's good for everyone. We've all sailed on boats that go quiet, and that is just the worst.
I'd be intrigued to know what you would be like in that situation. How would you react to a situation like that, Shirley? Because you are an incredibly competitive Olympic champion sailor. How would you handle a situation like that? Would you be bullish, or would you be would you be as calm as those two?
Well, I always remember a great friend of mine called Bart Simpson, who tragically lost his life in San Francisco sailing incredible America's Cup machines. He always said, from now, I mean, it was like a key word. So never mind what's happened, never mind if your opponent's got 500 meters ahead, just what can you do from this moment? And Bruni was right. He just kept it calm, kept looking for the next thing.
You didn't answer the question. What would you be like, Shirley? You didn't answer the question.
She did not answer that question even a little.
In this part of the world, we call that just passing the football along.
Kenny, you?
I'm gonna deflect the question as well. I'm just gonna go to the point where in our post-race interviews, you saw Bruni saying, "Yeah, it was a great race. It was tough, but that was a great race." And Barker saying, "Why did we even sail that race?" That's the absolute polar opposites of your feelings at the end of a race like that. It's not a lot of fun if you're on the bad side of that contest. I can tell you that. We've all been there, by the way.
Sun's out, fans are out on the second day of racing the PRADA Cup Challenger Series. We are now about to start at 4:45. It will be the start of round robin number 2 and race number 1. There's confirmation of it, and that will be INEOS Team UK and American Magic. If we can just quickly go onto the water with Nathan Outeridge, because we've seen INEOS Team UK out there foiling around, looking pretty comfortable. Nathan, what the conditions, please, ahead of the race start?
Well, thanks, Stephen. It's come up slightly. Couple of knots more breeze, but more importantly is INEOS are doing everything they can to get ready for this race. They're sailing around, tacking, jibing. They've been all the way. They've done a full lap. And American Magic are just stationary. So just looking at the attitude of the two boats, very different attitudes in the approach to this race. And I think this breeze might start to come in. The sky's thinning, the blue sky is starting to appear a little bit, and maybe this could be a late sea breeze fill right now.
Yeah, Nathan, we saw the weather forecast this morning. It did look a little better later in the day, but we also noticed that INEOS had their biggest jib on board, the J1. I'm sure American Magic is heading in that direction, but we keep seeing some shots of INEOS ripping around pretty good. Well, frankly, we never saw them in this condition a couple weeks ago ripping around pretty good. So far, so good with this new foil package.
Yeah, exactly. They're looking quite good. As you say, they've got the biggest jib on. I think they're not taking any chances. They know could be soft, and they're just going for maximum power in this race.
Thanks, Nathan. Appreciate the time. We'll be back to you shortly, because we have race start at 4:45 between that boat there, which has a perfect record so far, and the PRADA Cup. INEOS Team UK, they are 2-0, and they will face up to American Magic, looking, desperately seeking, searching for their first win in this cup. And doesn't it make a magnificent sight? These AC-75s falling around the Waitemata Harbour with a backdrop of one of our iconic pieces of land, which is, of course, Rangitoto. You know, the oldest and greatest obsession in international sport has and continues to have a powerful hold on some of the world's most powerful men. The principal of Rossa Prada Pirelli, Patrizio Bertelli, has spent 20 years trying to get his hands on the old bug. 20 years. The head of the Italian fashion house Prada has become synonymous with the Cup. It is, and always has been, a very special passion.
But Patrizio is just passionate. I mean, he loves sailing. Is everything he does in any boat he has or he owns, he's pushing 100%, even with this classic yacht. When he goes racing, he want to go out racing to win the race, not just to take part of the event.
Beh, la classe 12 metri è un'imbarcazione storica, anche se è una barca lenta, è una barca tecnica, è comunque una barca in cui bisogna avere una grande dimestichezza sulla parte tecnologica delle manovre. Mi ricordo che qualcuno commentava, diceva si spende tanti soldi per andare pianissimo. Infatti è vero, non vanno forti, però sono barche in cui si può fare match race, c'è tutta un'adrenalina per quanto riguarda il rapporto tra la barca, tu che sei sopra e poi la sfida che hai con gli altri timonieri.
He's really passionate. He loves what he's doing. He will never do the Cup just for commercial. Doesn't need that. He does that because he loves to do that, and the day doesn't find anymore the appeal from a technical and from a passion point of view, we'll stop to do the Cup, I'm sure about that.
Ma nell'America's Cup rendeva speciale soprattutto per i velisti, perché era chiaro che tutto il percorso dei 12 metri, poi delle barche successive, ha attratto i velisti perché era l'espressione delle barche più tecniche, anche dove il velista si poteva maggiormente cimentare col match race. L'evoluzione che ha avuto dopo i catamarani è un'altra cosa rispetto all'America's Cup tradizionale. Vediamo cosa si può recuperare dello spirito di una volta. E comunque il problema è sempre stato legato che le barche erano barche particolarmente innovative, anche G-classe nel 38, nel 40, un impegno perché in sostanza poi vince solo una barca, quindi non è un torneo, è una vittoria fino a se stessa. Ecco, l'attrazione è sempre questa.
I really would like to see what he will do the day he will have the cup in his hand. He will never tell you, obviously, but he will be the happiest guy in the world.
Peter Blake mi mandò una lettera dicendo che il segreto della Coppa America è farla all'infinito fin quando uno non si vince. Mi sembra che noi stiamo battendo questa strada. Quindi vince sempre la barca più veloce, questo è il fatto fondamentale, non c'è ombra di dubbio. E quindi spesse volte uno pensa di aver fatto un grande sviluppo tecnico, ma c'è qualcuno che l'ha fatto più di te, questa è la verità. Poi non c'è altri segreti.
A beautiful panorama of Auckland City, host to the 36th America's Cup. No stranger to the America's Cup, the first defence here in 2000 with Team New Zealand again in 2003. And that's Mangawika North Head, one of the great viewing platforms for the stadium courses. I just love those helicopter shots. You fly up over and look at Devonport, a lovely area to come just to wander around and enjoy. It's very like a seaside village in a rather large city. And if you really want to get on the water, sun's out, guns out. And we are heading towards race number 1 in round robin 2. INEOS Team UK and American Magic. Nathan Outteridge on the water. Shirley Robinson and Ken Reid beside me in the box, and a enthusiastic group of fans in the village ready to go for INEOS Team UK and American Magic. We've got to talk about INEOS Team UK. I know it may sound boring, but they have been the story so far in this very early part of the PRADA Cup. Massive changes, a massive improvement in performance, says Ben Ainsley. They must be so confident now, knowing what they've got. And as we heard from Nathan Outteridge on the water, stronger winds coming today. Yeah, baby.
Well, Shirley, I don't know if I'd use the word confident yet. I think relieved is probably a better word for the Brits after yesterday. I mean, yes, they showed the world what everybody kind of expected, or at least what everybody kind of hoped, and that is, don't count us out, folks. We've done this before. We've gone around the block before. We kind of know what we're doing. Yeah, they were pretty upset at how behind they were a few weeks back, but 10% speed difference. That's what Ben said last night at the press conference. They think they have a 10% speed upgrade, and even more importantly, I think seeing them flying around in this light air right now is even more of a shocker than yesterday.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Ben also said they're not entirely sure. He just doesn't actually know how much of a gain they've made in these light conditions, sub 12 knots. But we have seen them looking pretty confident. And when we've gone to those onboard shots, they haven't been worried about their speed, have they? They've been looking up the course, sitting there with their coach, Rob Wilson, deciding, strategy and tactics. I mean, the thing that actually won them the races yesterday.
On board INEOS Team UK, this is a team that is suffering 170 years of hurt. They want to change the narrative here, and that's all the motivation Sir Ben Ainslie needs. INEOS Team UK skippers hoping to make history and bring the trophy back to the UK for the first time since they lost it. That was way back in 1851.
I think the thing I love about sailing is the diversity of the sport. There's always a different challenge, and that you're always learning, you're always developing new skills. And of course, you're out there on the water. We all love being out there on the water, challenging Mother Nature. So I think it's the most fantastic sport. First memory I had of the America's Cup was, I guess, back in '87 in Fremantle. I think it's gone down in history as one of the best cups, just because you had the Fremantle Doctor, you had 20, 25 knots of wind every day. It was, I think, the last cup where they raced in the 12-metre class.
The America's Cup is America's again. It's the fourth successive victory in 5 days, ending the shortest America's Cup in 100 years.
I was a 10-year-old watching it on the telly back home in the UK. That and the '92 Olympics in Barcelona. Those were probably the two big sporting events which I remember as a youngster, and really gave me the inspiration to try and learn more about sailing, be better at sailing, and perhaps one day have the opportunity to race in an Olympic Games or to race in an America's Cup. So I'm very fortunate that that's come true.
One more down, turning, that's pressure, it is just a little light.
I guess I'm a pretty competitive person, like most sportsmen. I love the competition, really. I mean, I enjoy the whole process, and I enjoy the learning and the development, but I really love racing. I'm not particularly good at losing, but that happens, unfortunately, from time to time. The trick, I guess, is not to make a habit of it. I mean, in any walk of life, you probably learn more from your losses, don't you? And that's the same in sports, certainly the same in the America's Cup. And you've got to have that determination and that motivation to keep going until the job's done. I don't like giving up on targets or on goals. So, yeah, I think the trick is to set up the right organisation that can go, that has longevity, continuity, and that way you keep learning, you keep developing, and step by step you get there. Yeah, I think if I could hand over my 5 Olympic medals and take home the America's Cup, I think I'd probably take that trade, because everything it means to the team here, the amount of effort people are putting into this campaign and the campaign before, and the history involved, what it would mean for us in British sailing. Yeah, I'd make that trade.
Sir Ben Ainslie, some would say cool, calm and charming, but he is handling the pressure like a true professional, and they're up next to try and go 3-0. It's a Saturday afternoon in Auckland City. We are about to start the second round-robin phase of the PRADA Cup with race number 1 between INEOS Team UK, who have a perfect record so far, against American Magic. Start time being spoken about as 4:45 local time. It's now been changed. I understand. My apologies. I've just been notified in my ear. It's a 4:55 start now. A 4:55 start for race number 1. But let's talk about American Magic first of all. Kenny and Shirley, and the one thing that stands out, and it was just the body language of Dean Barker. He was simply deflated after that loss to Luna Rossa.
Well, how can you not be, I guess? I mean, we talked a little bit the other day. We are all human. Now, these guys, I think at times we all think become a little superhuman because of what they're actually doing to boats and the speeds they go on the water. But we've all had crummy races before, but this is you're on global TV in front of these huge crowds on these boats that are supposed to be going 50 knots, and you're plastered to the water, and you got another race to do. And you know, it's just mentally, you got to flick a switch, and that's where the leadership of a team comes in. Guy like Terry Hutchin on the backside of the pumps here with Cooper Dressler. Terry, Dean, the rest of the veterans, you got to pick up the group, right, Shirley? You got to somehow flick a switch and get ready for that second race.
You know, I'm still surprised that Terry's on the pumps. You know, he is a phenomenal tactician in all kinds of boats. He's very vocal on a boat. We've all heard that before. He's a great tactician. And I don't know, you know, you look at the British boat, they have Giles Scott. He's free to walk around and look around and make decisions. You know, I'd be tempted to get Terry out of there and fully concentrating on what's going on. Also, we don't hear much from him, Stephen, and I'm really surprised by that. You need, especially the trickier the conditions, the more eyes you need out the boat looking at what's coming.
Would you be bold enough to suggest that that could be a weak link for American Magic because of that? I mean, it's been done before. I think Grant Dalton was a grinder at one stage in an America's Cup cycle as well.
I wouldn't go as far as to say a weak link, but I do know in the British boat they worked really hard to free Giles Scott, gold medalist from Rio, you know, up from having to grind. And so those guys work harder. They're a man down, but they felt it was so important to have a dedicated tactician. And in Auckland is really difficult. You need someone dedicated.
I had the opportunity to interview Terry Hutchinson about 2 weeks ago and ask him, I think I spoke to you about this before, you're a 52-year-old grinder, what the heck are you doing? And,
yeah,
and he says, I love it. And I says, his respect for grinders. And he said it was no issue, the communication between himself and Dean Barker. He felt like he was Dean's shadow, and he knew if Dean was maybe, shall we use the word, struggling with a decision, a late-making decision, he could second-guess and go, no, we can do it this way.
Well, I think it's a mistake to say it's too early. Yeah, others are doing it differently, but they've been practicing this way for a long time. I know they do these stress tests where this mental capacity stress test, so you get your heart rate up to some ridiculous amount, and you have to try to think at the same time. I have a feeling Terry, having sailed with Terry a lot and against Terry a lot, there is nobody who is going to be kind of more angry at the situation right now, literally angry, and just want to go out there and start fighting again. Put on those gloves and just get in the ring and start fighting again and let me grind my brains out. I don't care. I'm just gonna just have at it. Let's go, let's go. And anybody who's sailed with Terry before knows exactly what I'm talking about.
I mean, but you say that, he's stuck on one side of the boat.
Well, Giles Scott is always stuck on one side of the boat too. He's always on the leeward side of the boat, right?
Well, I think he can walk around a bit. Sometimes he's steering, sometimes he's helping out in other areas. He's not head down on the handles.
Fair enough.
Round robin race number 2, just confirmation the start time has been pushed out to 4:55 or 24-hour clock, and nautical term 16:55 NZT New Zealand Standard Time. Let's go onto the water. Nathan Arledge, our foiling guru out there. Well, we're through race 1 and we've broken that one down, but now we have to start looking, Nathan, at race number 1 of round robin 2. And we've been talking about American Magic and the mental edge to try and get that edge back. How do they get it back? And it's not as simple as just bagging a win, is it?
I think it is that simple. I think a win will change everything. It'll get us off their back and it'll give them a bit of a confidence boost. But how you get the win is the real question. How are they going to get this win? Well, what I've been seeing right now is they've been at the top of the course doing a lot of maneuvers. seeing lots of foiling maneuvers, and this breeze is starting to filter in down the course. So I think, you know, it's a brave call right now, but I think it's going to be fine. Right now we're reading 8 knots from about 190, so it's stabilized a bit. I can see race management are moving the marks around and repositioning the start line bottom marks. INEOS are about to get up on the foil here and do their final pre-start prep, but it's looking like this sea breeze that often comes in from the west coast of Auckland has pushed past the airport through the city, and now we're feeling much cooler air on the water. So I think it'll start to settle down and we'll have a little bit of a less chaotic race than what we just saw previously. So stand by.
A magnificent sight. I never get tired of looking at that. 2 magnificent, revolutionary, futuristic AC-75 foiling yachts in front of Rangitoto. We are on the Waitemata Harbour, the Hauraki Gulf, and preparing ourselves for race number 1 of round robin phase number 2 in the PRADA Cup 2021, the Challenger Series. One of these yachts, and of course including Luna Rossa, will be facing Emirates Team New Zealand in the match, the 36th America's Cup from March 6. Who will it be? There's a long way to go. American Magic's Terry Hutchinson is no stranger to success. He's racked up countless World Championship titles and played senior roles in 5, that's right, 5 America's Cup challenges. But there's one thing he has yet to achieve. He's never won the America's Cup, never held the old mug aloft.
The America's Cup, what's it mean? I mean, it's part curse, it's part lifetime ambition, and for, I guess, my generation of sailor, it was always seen and is seen as the pinnacle of our sport. In 1983, I left school at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, walked out of my Catholic high school and straight into the local sailing pub and sat there and watched, you know, really history for our sport. That 14-year-old kid watched Dennis lose. You think about the change that happened on that day, and you think about what Dennis and Tom and the Stars and Stripes team did in 1987. I mean, what an incredible, incredible story. What an incredible display of comeback. And that was, yeah, that probably got me hooked. In 2003, I sailed for Dennis on Stars and Stripes, which he took me to his house. You walk into the house, there's the America's Cup. You know, I go into a quiet room and I call home and tell my wife about, I'm standing in Dennis Connor's house looking at the America's Cup. I mean, just shoot me right now. Unfortunately, we didn't do that well on the water, but again, it was another really good learning. You know, the funny thing about this game is you probably learn more from the defeat than you do from the victory. I think at the end of the day, the best part of it is in front of us. This is pretty out there, and it's pretty tip of the spear. More people will be on top Everest this year than will sail on an AC-75. And yeah, I mean, there's a select group of sailors that have the capabilities to race one of these boats properly. For me personally, it's been a 22-year career in chasing it. And quite honestly, I just want us to win the regatta. You know, you walk into a room full of sailors, and there are guys that have won the cup and there are guys that have not. So I think you want to be on the side of the room that those are the guys that have won. When we won the Louis Vuitton Cup in 2007, I went up and my family was standing right there, and my wife looked at me. She goes, "This is not what we came here for." And she's right. So this is very much of a similar situation. It's part of the pathway to the America's Cup, and so, but I would suspect when you walk into the foyer of the New York Yacht Club, and there's that table with the light beaming down that is the void of the America's Cup, it's only replaced by one thing.
The skyline of Auckland City on a Saturday afternoon as the 16th day of January 2021. We are only just beginning the pursuit to find a winner of the PRADA Cup. We are in the second day of the Challenger Series. That boat you are seeing falling beautifully right now is INEOS Team UK. And it's been spoken many times in the last 24 hours. There was a team and a boat that could not get a win in the World Cup Series before Christmas of last year. And suddenly the modifications and improvements they've made have turned them in quite simply at this very early stage as the boat to beat. Right now they've gone from underdog to look out, come and chase us.
Like I would say, Stephen, that this has been one of the most remarkable turnarounds that anybody in our sport has ever seen so far. Remember, we're giving them a lot of credit, Shirley, for 2 wins, but 2 bold wins nonetheless, and a team that has a renewed energy. I mean, these are the people you live with. There's a renewed energy over there that is obvious and shocking at the same time. It's incredible.
Yeah, and a bit of momentum. I mean, Nathan, we've been watching them foiling around for a while. There seems to have been a change in the weather. What's it like now?
Yeah, Shirley, without question, the breeze has come up a bit. We're getting a lot more sunshine out here now. As I said, these clouds are burning off. There's cooler air coming over the city, and the current is dying, which is also an important factor. The low water is today's at 4:45, so we're low water in 3 minutes from now. And the current's going to start coming in, particularly on that right-hand side. So it's sort of starting to look a little bit how it looked yesterday. It's still not as windy, but definitely enough breeze to race. And both boats have still got their big jibs on. So wonder if they're going to try and make a late change and depower a little bit.
So, Nathan, the delay is because they've actually moved the course access around and not because of the wind strength. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what I understand. Race management has been moving the bottom marks a little bit closer, a little bit further up, and realigning it to the wind direction. As these sea breezes come over the hill, the angles change slightly, and so he's just trying to make sure they get a nice, fair race away. And it's looking good. It's looking surprisingly good out here. I know that we all saw that last race that Dean Barker obviously wasn't very happy about it, but I don't think he's going to have any complaints with the weather in this race.
Which jib? I mean, that has to be the discussion on every foredeck right now.
Yeah, Nathan, the big one is still on INEOS, and they actually look like they had a smaller one on the Americans. You would think of anything right now, the Americans would be a little gun shy, and they'd lean on the big jib side just to make sure they didn't have that same situation that they had in the last race.
Yeah, no, exactly. You'd think you'd be going for maximum power right now, but the crazy thing with these boats is just 2 knots of wind range change, and you go through the jib code so quickly. It's not because 2 knots of breeze gives you that much more power, it's the fact that you are foiling and you're going so much faster that the apparent wind is so much stronger. So, for example, if you're trying to generate enough power to take off, you need maximum sail area, because you're only doing about 10 knots of boat speed and about 5 or 6 knots of wind. The moment you get on the foil, you're doing 20, 25 knots, so you have way more power. So it's a difficult decision right now. I can see now both boats are stopped. They must be considering a jib change right now. It's going to be a big call because we're starting to run out of time. I think a jib change is at least 10 minutes, and we're only, what, 12 minutes or so away from a start. So unlikely. And man, I tell you what, I'm looking forward to this one, guys. This is a big one for American Magic. They haven't won a race yet, and you know they need a race win. You know, we all probably think INEOS is going to be the team that might struggle the most, being light breeze, but they're sailing with confidence. So this could be a big moment in the round robin series.
And American Magic would like a big moment a little further down the track too, because for 132 years, the New York Yacht Club held on to the America's Cup. It was the longest winning record in sporting history. Now, after an 18-year break, the New York Yacht Club is back in the game and determined to bring the America's Cup home.
132 years of history as a defender, and here we are, back in it. Having the opportunity to represent the history of the club and everything that the America's Cup has been for the New York Yacht Club, having the opportunity to represent that is it's pretty special. You know, I'm sure that in the years following 1983, it was hard because it left a big void. So when you walk into the door of the New York Yacht Club and you come in the foyer and go up the stairs, there's this table that is empty, but it has a light shining down on top of it. And that's reserved for one trophy. The gentleman that manages the front desk there, you know, he said, "You got to win this thing because I can't retire until you do." When I look at it from the professional sailor perspective, I think when they lost in '83, you know, Dennis elevated the game by, you know, training all year in 2 boat programs and, you know, really an attention to detail that had never been seen before. And he dug a little bit deeper, and he and Tom Whidden and the team that they assembled with Stars and Stripes went on to probably the single best sailing event, because, you know, he lost and Dennis came back and won. I mean, to me, that is the absolute greatest comeback in America's Cup history. Yeah, I look at it and think that's just all paved the way to where we're sitting here today. As a sailor, I mean, I think you kind of wake up every day and you pinch yourself a little bit, because even though it is hard and there are a lot of landmines that you see and you don't see that come at you, you can't help but be thankful for the opportunity. And so I think at the end of the day, the best part of it is in front of us. All we have to do is make sure that we leave nothing on the table, and, you know, when we get to March, well, then it'll be what it'll be. If it was our first rodeo, you'd be a little bit more nervous, but it's not. And so you trust in the guys that you're standing next to and the voices that you hear in the earpiece to get it more right than wrong. So as long as we win, I'm gonna sleep pretty darn well at night.
And you would certainly hope that Terry Hutchinson and the crew of American Magic will sleep well tonight if they are able to get their first win in this PRADA Cup Challenging Series. They have immense pressure on them from a storied club known as the New York Yacht Club. Let's go, round robin number 2 and the current leaders of the Challenger Series.
INEOS Team UK had a day to remember yesterday, a huge boost for every fan and team member. But today's a different day, a bit less breeze, a bit closer to that feared light weather Achilles heel that may or may not still be real. When asked last night, skipper Ben Ainslie stated he simply didn't know if their changes would rectify the light air struggles. So let's get this show on the road and all find out together if the Brits have become more of an all-arounder than anyone ever thought.
Everyone's high, you know. We've had enough lows over the last 2 months that we really had to come together as a team and look for that good day, and we got it yesterday. So we enjoyed it for a short period of time. Ben got the team together and said some really motivating words, but then also reminded us that there's a long way to go, you know, long way to go. It's the first step in what is hopefully a long journey.
Confidence from them. This is a team that needs a shot of it.
Well, race 1 today, another setback for the pairing of Barker and Hutchinson. They'll be upset by that loss, still yet to score points. They now need to reset, refocus as they revisit their opponent from yesterday. There's been some movement on the pedestals, replacing Tim Hornsby, a fresh grinder, and Alex Sinclair, looking to keep that power running throughout the boat. And for the afterguard, they need to take what they've learned from yesterday's loss to INEOS, take what they've just learned from this race course, and try and put all of that together into a solid performance as they chase their first win in this PRADA Cup. Different conditions today. I mean, how might that affect how you approach today's racing?
With the lighter air, the key today is staying on the foils. As soon as you come off the foils, it'll be tough to get back up. So it'll be massive losses. So our goal is to stay on the foils all around the course.
It is round robin number 2, the opening race between INEOS Team UK and American Magic. Take a look at INEOS Team UK on your left-hand side of your screen. On the right-hand side, a non-foiling American Magic. We were talking to our man and chase boat one, Nathan Outage, early, saying the conditions, Kenny Reid and Shirley Robinson, were looking a lot more favourable to foiling racing.
Yeah, that looked really telling to me already, Shirley. These guys are up and going, and the Americans were having to get towed up on their foils. Kind of interesting start to this contest.
They've got currently 9 or 10 knots at the start line, but we've seen more. I mean, this thermal wind that comes in from the west coast came in with the flurry. It was stronger. I don't think this is going to be straightforward, Kenny. It's still a tricky race course.
Let's go on to the race course itself with Nathan Outage and get a feel for what the conditions are doing right now ahead of this race start. Nathan?
Well, the conditions are playing games with everyone out here. 1 minute you think it's about to come in and build to 12 to 15, and then it drops back down to 8 knots again. As you saw there, American Magic needed to get towed up onto the foil to get going. INEOS decided, no, there's enough breeze and it's okay for them. But it's going to be tricky, and this is all going to be about winning this start. And we know Ben Ainsley is very aggressive in these pre-starts. It's going to be a balance between being aggressive and staying on your foils this whole pre-start.
I am fascinated by this race, Shirley. This is so telling to the rest of the series. So, at such an early stage, I never thought I'd say we have kind of a critical race, because if Ainsley's okay, if INEOS is okay getting up on the foils in this condition, that opens up a whole rest of their world, where they're going to develop, how they're going to develop.
Yeah, and yesterday we saw them sailing with such confidence in those pre-starts, and if they feel they've got boat speed as well in these light airs, they're going to be solid.
He just looks relaxed. I mean, he's just driving the boat like it's, you know, he's in his own old Volkswagen Beetle, just cruising down the road.
Pressure coming.
2 minutes and 10 seconds will be the time that INEOS Team UK will come in on the port entry. American Magic will have starboard entry. The one talking point so far you might consider with American Magic 2 will be, of course, tactics and how they have raced so far in this PRADA Cup Challenger Series.
Happy to come down in 2-1. Working down now. Yep. He's just fallen off the foil. Copy. Stand by, tag here. Copy, crossing. Oh no, just keep it low.
Stephen, critical moment here.
It's a huge mistake here.
Yeah, young
American Magic. They were early entry, so they've already got a penalty and they're off the foils above the line. That was all their setup. They tacked too early when they went to enter, and you know, from a minute out there you could see they were going to have big problems.
So why is it, I think right now this is really telling also that Ainsley didn't go right after him. Usually in a situation you see somebody who's kind of wounded as the other boat, you go right after him and try to get more penalties on him. But he just let it go because he knows how important it is just to keep it up on the foils. Let them flounder, they have a penalty, keep it on the foils.
For the British team now, it's all about time and distance, just keeping it up and also judging when to go for that start line.
Turning up. Little lighter on this exit. Coming up out of this. Copy.
60 seconds to start of round robin phase number 2 and race number 1. INEOS Team UK already have 2 points. They are perfect so far in this Challenger Series. American Magic are off the foils and already have a penalty for early entry.
Holding up. Coming on. Holding on, boys.
He's up and killing high, killing above the line.
INEOS, they had a lot of time to burn. 30 seconds in these boats is an age to sort of come up, just try and slow down. Still flying, though.
Yeah, dangerous in its own way, though, right? Being early.
20 seconds Starting here, still getting a couple of
Dial down going on here right now.
Yeah, I'm ready.
This could be another penalty if they can't get on to
He's on
start
the lane,
attack
we're
very
going to be
quickly.
above. Turning up. Turning up hard. Yep. All the way, boys.
The American boat giving a penalty.
Stand by attack.
No, they just didn't avoid them in any way.
Is that a penalty? Is that a penalty?
Penalty cleared.
For
Penalty cleared.
the not getting into the starting line on time? I think that's what it might have been, Shirley. We'll have to double check that.
We are away in racing in the second round-robin phase of the PRADA Cup Challenger Series, race number 1. INEOS Team UK looking to go 3-0. It is a 6-leg race. Meanwhile, poor old American Magic is trying to get up on the foils.
Stephen, we keep saying this, and we're early in the piece. These are scenes we've never seen before. One boat sitting there and another boat literally doing circles around it in the pre-start. Shirley, help me out here. I've never seen anything like this before.
I mean, that was an unforced error. I mean, Nathan talked us through that beautifully. They were early into the box. They were trying to slow down, fell off the foils.
18.
Made their life hard.
2, 1, board down. Okay, go forward. High pitch. I will.
Hey guys, and just quietly, we're just next to INEOS Team UK where they take. American Magic is still not foiling. They are hard at the start line. But as we go up the race course, the breeze looks good. I'm shocked that they're not even foiling. This is just unbelievable what's unfolding right now. INEOS Team UK are ripping up the course. And American Magic is sailing 90 degrees to the wind, trying to get on the foil with very little success.
Thanks, Nathan. Let's just go back to the start. We've talked about how important starts can be. Wow, this was important. American Magic getting pinged for an early entry.
Yeah, this is all about setup and how you get into the race course. They're coming in early. Remember, they can't cross that small line, this line right here, until 2 minutes. And they're really worried about being too early to cross that line. They try to slow down too much. And surely, as we've seen, you get below that 20-knot barrier or so, you're likely going to end up in the water. That's exactly what they couldn't do. That's really the only thing they couldn't do, and they did it, unfortunately.
And if you look at our graphics now, look at the lead already. What's cost them 700-odd meters. That can be a game changer if the wind's good.
Yeah, and as Nathan said, it's kind of a course of 2 halves. We're looking at INEOS now. You've got great breeze up there, but currently in the starting box, the 7 or 8 knots. So the rich are getting richer.
We're going to be back before that lull. Only got about 35.
There is a scary sense of what happened yesterday for INEOS Team UK for all the right reasons. They don't have to worry about another boat at this point. They're racing their own race.
Copy. Moment potentially laying, but taking us up here. Yeah. Yep, coming up. Okay. Nice there. High mode's good here. High pitch if you want. Yours. Check is whether we'll do tack bear away at the moment. Yeah, copy that. It still looks light on the left. Little softer here, nice in the can. If we get a big down, I'm worried we're sailing too low. Light on inside us, there's light everywhere, unfortunately. Copy. Another band out there. Mode changes here.
For all you sailors at home, that is the conversation between a skipper and a tactician that every boat needs to try to develop, because that is called connecting the dots, right, Shirley? That is absolutely, they're looking for the puffs and being really communicative as to where they want to place this boat for its best performance.
I don't think there's many people that Ben Ainsley would listen to, but Giles Scott is definitely one of them. And gold medalist in the Finn class, the class Ben sailed from Rio. He's calm and collected and solid.
INEOS Team UK approaching the top gate for the first time and have come off their foils. You heard Ben Ainsley say to Giles Scott, it's pretty light up there. Well, it's very light. They have
super light on the right.
touchdown.
Yeah, guys, I'm up here at the top mark, and it's about 5 knots at this top gate.
A
But
little bit of current
over on that boundary near North Head, it's about 12 knots. It's nervous moments. I can see American Magic. They are aiming at the top marks in this pressure, doing probably 30 knots. And this race is far from over.
30.2 to be exact. Nathan, in this race is far from over. As we saw the first time, we reported that we had never seen a race have a boat that was over a half a leg ahead at one time or another, and here we go again.
Be able to pace it up.
Look at the speed difference on the bottom left of your screen. 31.3 to 5 knots against not even a knot. Here comes the cavalry.
Holy mackerel.
You could walk faster than INEOS at the moment. Imagine looking behind. That is a car coming towards you at 40 miles an hour.
But are they going to park? They have to go through this. They have to navigate this same light air patch that INEOS is in right now. Ainsley's not even going to look at them. And they do. They park. They park.
He may not lay there.
Kenny, it's a complete car park at the top mark at the moment, and not a breath of wind when I look upwind, so they could be sitting here for a couple of minutes.
Trying to get down here at the moment. Have a good look at that breeze off North Edge, hello. Yeah, copy. It's just light on that at the moment. I mean, it's there, but you can't get straight into it. Okay.
The voice is on INEOS Team UK.
Yeah. That's where it's going to build from, isn't it? You know? Yeah. Okay. They're going forward up here.
They were super lucky they made that mark, Shirley. Now, at least they
gonna
get the head in the right direction.
Could that be the slowest mark rounding you have ever seen?
Oh, but trust me, on the boats I sail, I've gone a lot slower around the mark before.
Maybe it just stands out more because we're so used to speed of these AC75s, but INEOS Team UK have rounded the top mark for the first time. That's the best way to do it. Lay back and enjoy it.
Big trap. All the way.
That breeze comes in from the right now. INEOS is a little vulnerable, aren't they, Nathan? American Magic could pick it up first.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tough position. When you are leading going downwind and no one's foiling, the boat behind actually gets the advantage. If they're both foiling, then the advantage switches back. But right now, all it takes is American Magic to get a little puff, and they could get up and going and be halfway down the run before INEOS gets that same piece of pressure. But I don't see a whole lot right now. You know, looking further upwind, maybe a minute or two away. So just see how this unfolds.
Just okay.
Almost doubling the speed right now. Not fast, but American Magic has quite a bit more speed than INEOS does. But INEOS looks to be sailing into that same little bit of pressure.
Anywhere you like.
Copy. Look like there's enough to get going here for a little bit. So
he's with us to leeward, okay?
Copy that.
Not enough breeze to get going yet, so just sort of VMG, far side of VMG. Hopefully it'll feed in. That breeze is still just hanging out there, so we just want to try and punch the top of it.
This reminds me of the good old days, Shirley, back here. USA 77 in 2003 and USA 55 in 2000. Going about this speed. Actually, this would be pretty quick.
Terry's got out his spots, having a good look around. Exactly what they need.
So after scampering away at the start, INEOS Team UK have basically stalled, as have American Magic, with light air as predicted by Nathan Atteridge at the top gate. Now the challenge is to get up on the foils on the downward leg. We're now on leg 2 of 6.
We're only 200 metres off.
Talking about how close they are to the border. They don't want to go out of bounds. They don't want to go off sides.
For what it's worth, the gap was 1 minute 50 seconds.
Yeah.
Just for what it's worth.
I'm going to take this clock away from you. That's all. That's what we're going to do.
If we get stuff off the helicopter, maybe use it for the jibe.
It's one of those days, Shirley, we're getting the whole box of chocolates, aren't we? We really are.
I can feel the tension. I'm feeling the tension. It might not be 40 knots around the course, but it's exciting.
It has brought a whole new dimension to light air sailing, frankly. It really has. And yeah, it's incredible.
Onto the wall with Nathan Outridge. Nathan, can you see any wind?
Well, we were actually sitting underneath the helicopter there, and we had plenty of breeze coming from above us. And I could hear Terry Hutchinson saying maybe we could get this little helicopter puff and get going. But right now, what's actually happening is just a massive right-hand shift. The breeze has gone maybe 40 degrees to the right, and as you can see, both boats are sailing a pretty high angle. Patriot's almost going back towards the top mark. That's how much of a right-hand shift we've got. And the wind is just bouncing over North Head. And you can hear Giles Scott just saying there right now, I think we need to go back the other way because the pressure is all down this northern boundary. Where the boats are sailing from at the moment, they're sailing away from the pressure. But if they jibe and come back, they're just going to go out of bounds once again. So tough decision for the tacticians at the moment to do lots of jibes or to try and stretch it out far enough that you can jibe back onto port, jibe, get it up on the foil and get down this race course.
Who do you feel picks it up first?
Worried about the tide.
Well, as I was saying before, I think the boat behind might have the advantage here. They might get the pressure before. You know, I imagine if American Magic jibe any time now, INEOS are going to jibe to match. And I reckon in about 30 seconds there's going to be enough pressure for both boats to be foiling on port jibe.
Nathan, we just heard on the British boat, Giles saying, you know, are we getting worried about the tide? I mean, we're right at the time, aren't we, where the tide begins to change. How will that affect it?
Well, definitely, Shirley, the tide has changed. We're sitting here actually drifting upwind. The current is taking us towards the top mark. So that's why the boats don't look like they're making much headway.
And Nathan, we can really see a tide line here right now. There's a tide line, and I think that's the line that they're really worried about crossing, because you were saying how the current is doing different things on one side of the race course versus the other.
He jives, we're probably going to have to follow him.
Yeah, 100%, and I think right now, INEOS and American Magic, if they jibe now, they'll be coming into good pressure, and you don't want to be going across that current line at the moment.
There is a pressure band there. We've got, with 2 minutes, we're in the smack bang in the middle of the course right now. Bit of a puff in 5.
You know, one of the things, Shirley, that has become part of the game in this lighter air is setting yourself up with enough runway on the race course that if a puff does come, you don't get up on the foils and then have to jibe and come right off again. So you hear them talking about being in the center of the race course to try to at least use a puff for a fair chunk of time.
Yeah, I mean, they're essentially just going back and forward, boundary to boundary, and you hope that you time it, that you've got enough runway when the puff comes.
10 knots of speed again.
It is just worth noting, as we are still stuck, you might say, a little bit on leg number 2 of 6 in round robin 2, race number 1, that there is a 45-minute time limit, and they are well under that 35-minute mark now. The last race between Rossa and American Magic was taken down to a 4-leg race, but we are still sitting on a 6-leg race at this current time. Now, the race committee might choose to change that, considering what the wind does. So we will just wait and see and sit patiently with anticipation for the wind to come.
Come the whole way around there. Yeah, if we punch through this, we might have a go at it. I think we just stay BMG's displacement. Fast mode though, I think. 8 knots here.
Well, hearing the voice of Giles Scott on the British boat, you know, stay displacement mode for now with the sails all eased. Soon, he said, we might have a go at it. Remember, they need, you know, at least 18, 19 knots of boat speed just to get up, to get the acceleration to get up.
It is a really tactical call right now, though, whether you even try to foil or not. And I think early in the World Series, we saw boats trying to foil in unfoilable conditions. Now they're at least taking like an old-style VMG run down the race course in this displacement mode, getting a little distance down the track and not just burning up that distance, trying to do something that's actually impossible.
You know, there are going to be people saying displacement mode. Displacement mode simply means they're They're sailing like non-falling boats.
They're in the drink.
They're in the drink. That's what this place means.
They're in the drink.
They're in the drink.
Actually,
Hey,
I think
Stephen, one little observation here from on the water. All the spectators that are down this northern boundary, their flags are flapping hard. There is breeze down that side of the course, and it's who's going to get over to this boundary first, and if they can pick it up and get foiling. It's just really odd that the race course is the only part of the waterway that I can see now that doesn't have the wind. The spectators seem to be blocking that breeze.
We will be shortening the course to 4 legs, so you will finish at the second leeward gate.
We expected that, Stephen and Shirley and Nathan, that shortened course from 6 legs down to 3, so that's only 2 laps. So, but the time limit is still the ever-looming factor at this stage.
It's just whether we can connect. You know, these flags are just so. It just looks like
there's pressure right there, Shirley. I mean, it just looks like it's breezy, right? Look at that puff. Look at some of these puffs out on the race course. That's a big puff right there, and these puffs are shooting down the race course that way. You would think that at some stage here, they'd be able to pop the boat out of the water. It looks kind of puffy on that, like Nathan said, puffy on that side of the race course.
that north head is high. It is really high, and the wind is light, and it's just like the odd puff of wind can escape down, down from that high ground. It's a difficult race course. This.
Similar pressure to us. We'll get this puppy.
It looks a little better inside, but it's only.
Yeah, there's plenty of breeze down this left side of the race course. Remember, dark water means a puff. Nathan, you ever think in this displacement mode that any of these teams would try pulling both of their foils out of the water at the same time?
Kenny, that's a great question, but honestly, I don't think they have the capability to do that. I think the way that the boats are made and the amount of hydraulic pressure or hydraulic fluid that's in there, the way they're designed, you can have one board up, you can have both boards down, but you can't have both boards up at the same time. So I don't think that's an option.
Maybe they can think about it, Kenny.
Just throwing it out there. I get interesting texts from I can't take credit for that one. I got a very interesting text at the time. I think they might flip over if they pulled them both up at the same time.
That is a group of fans that would like to see American Magic earn their first point in the PRADA Cup Challenger Series. At the moment, they are the only team not to be on the board, but there is a good sign. INEOS Team UK, who are 2-0 so far, getting up and trying to stay up on those foils.
See, they came into that boundary, Shirley. There it is. There's the problem sometimes, right?
Max rudder, max rudder. Copy. Go back into VNT down here to open up the
seeds of frustration, but it's really all that breeze is down that side of the race course, so they might be running into that wall more often than you think. What a shame. But Shirley, at the same time, we've never said INEOS is getting out of the water more easily than another boat in a race before. This is new. This is something completely new.
Yeah, I think they'll be positive from this. I mean, this is a different looking outfit we saw in the light, difficult conditions pre-Christmas.
Have another crack and it'll be the other way.
They're racing.
Yeah, just need the runway to do so. Staying in displacement here. Copy. Let us know when you think, Charles. It's getting lighter this way, yeah? Yeah, I think we go soon. Yeah, do it. Driving. Slow trav up. Okay, slow trav up. Okay, go for it. Going back. Just not quite getting into the course, that breeze. Got some flap here.
While we are waiting for either of these boats to fall on tree, they call them telltales. There's little green dots with what I would call pieces of string off them. I've seen them on Formula One cars for aero. What are they telling us here at the moment? That there's not a lot of wind.
They're saying there's no wind. That's exactly. Even you non-sailors can figure that one out. I'm proud of you, big fella. That's good. There's no wind. That's what that means right now. Their sails all bunched up.
And just purely from a sailing standpoint, How important are those?
Well, right now down there...
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt your chat, but American Magic are up and foiling, picked up a puff. I hate to do this to you all the time when you're having such a good chat, but they are absolutely ripping, and this race is getting tense.
It's okay, Nathan. You're allowed to jump in when there's something happening, because we've been waiting for something to happen. Nathan Outeridge on the Chase Boat 1 VMG sitting at 20 knots. Now, VMG, we make sure we get this one clear. The importance of VMG, velocity made good, Ken.
Yeah, the speed towards the mark. It's the combination of speed and angle towards the mark. And but I think as we saw in the last race, you take any VMG at this stage just to stay up on the foil. And just as we're saying this, the Brits got up on the foil as well. So they're both going 30 knots and about 7 knots of wind speed. Unbelievable.
So being patient has paid off for the moment.
Starting to fill in, or is this just still a really puffy situation, Nathan?
Here we go. 19. Forward. Yep.
It's just pulsing in, and when it comes in, it's a big right hand shift. Look at both boats almost look like they're aiming at each other at the moment. But for sure, it's not a stable fill. It's a short burst, and I don't think that's going to be the last time we get a burst and followed by another lull.
So we're coming into this mark here, Stephen, on the race course, trying to get our bearings.
That's the ley line on the box, but obviously going to give it heaps here. Max, slow there for me. Okay, keep it ripping here. I need a little ease. I want to go light, Charles. I reckon I'm going to go here. Yeah, happy just as this crossing. Give it a couple for the mark.
Huge right-hand shift.
Turning. Made it. Go hard in the gym. Okay. Ready? My wheel. Now. Yeah, got it. Your wheel. My wheel. Nice. Building here. 23s. Slowly coming away here. Yep.
American Magic, let's listen on board as they see INEOS Team UK head away to that bottom mark.
He's showing enough radio now to get in.
Copy. We should be able to get going here, it feels like.
INEOS Team UK around the bottom gate for the first time. Remember, this is a shortened race. It was 6 legs, and how it's 4.
That was a pressure boundary here. 30 seconds.
Now they are now halfway through this race.
Yep. Okay, stand by. Crossing. 2, 1, forward down. Turning. Wide out of this, wide out. Copy. Jumping on. Okay, forward. Jumping on now. 18s. My wheel. 19s. Okay, main on. All the way on. 20s. Here we go. Okay. It's coming here.
Wow, that was a catch, right?
Yeah.
He kept saying wide out. What that means is I don't care where we're heading. We just got to bear off and try to get as much apparent wind as possible to keep this thing on the foil.
And you heard the slight panic in the voice when it got to 18 knots of boat speed. I mean, absolutely crucial number.
Yep. That's nice. Happy 1 or 2 clicks out on the can, please.
Hey, Kenny, that was, we were right next to them when they did that tack.
No lower for red.
There's no way they would have pulled that off in December. They have made huge changes on this boat that was working in the light wind just as well as the medium breeze. It's super impressive to watch as a sports fan. And man, I just can't understand how they could make that boat go so much better in this wind.
Super wide here. Big wide here.
Time would be something you could bring into that discussion. They needed time. All these teams lost 2 World Series, one in Cagliari, one in Portsmouth, and they were rushed into a situation, and development and being able to get onto the water has cost a lot of teams development time. So we're seeing the evolvement of boats through when it counts, the PRADA Cup.
And I think they needed the reality check of those pre-Christmas regattas as well. I mean, you can't underestimate how much work has gone on at INEOS during this break. Everything's different, Kenny. Above the water, below it, it's
This is one ice.
Kind of looks the same, but it's all new.
And we have a new kind of weak player in the light as of today. You know, there's no question. Listen, there's a lot of, let's put it one way. There's a lot of luck involved on a day like today, right? But there's also skill and speed creates luck in a way. But it's just too much of a coincidence that American Magic is now struggling against two boats in very similar conditions. When the other boat is finding a way to pop out of the water, they aren't. So, boy, oh boy, I don't know if they expected to be this weak in this condition.
All the way, the mass boys, all the way. Back front of there. I will.
Back down again.
Pressure coming back. Up here,
just under 20 minutes remaining for the maximum time allowed for this race. The time limit is 45 minutes.
Big stick coming and then... Copy. It's 10 knots now. Okay, main on. Okay, bit of trap.
The Union Jack flying proudly. And they might just get to the end of this race if we can finish the race within the time limit and have a perfect record.
Americans must be getting close to flying right now, going 17 knots. That's got to be very close. We know that's kind of that zone, right, Shirley? That right on the edge. Oh, you can see the bow just trying to pop out of the water. Come on.
Big stink coming on here.
They're still going to get around the bottom gate.
Yeah. These boats, you never know by looking at these shots what leg they're on, because it's really irrelevant. There they go. There goes the Americans up on the foils. Great shot there. Now they're going to take a left turn. When these guys get up on the foils, they're going to take a right turn.
How stunning is that to see a boat of that size and weight pop out and then put the hammer down?
What's a speed? What was in the last race? What's the speed difference of 30 knots between boats amongst friends?
Anyone's guess. I mean, the car's bloody hard to see. Got a main on here. We're beginning to sail out that localized path. Pressure on here. Have a crack at it here. Easy, switch. Easy. 13. Okay. Main on. 14.
Nathan, again, I don't think that's the biggest jib on American Magic, is it?
Bit more pressure to come, 16.
Kenny, I think you're right. There's almost like a metre gap from the top of the jib to where the headstay joins the mast. So that could be their 1.5 jib, you know, the in between the ones and the twos. But it's just surprised me they're not trying to get maximum power. And the other thing that is really telling right now is that the American Magic hull, we know, is quite sticky. There's a lot of surface area. It doesn't reduce surface area as quick on the takeoffs, and that's where they're really struggling, is trying to get that boat out of the water.
Coming up. Yeah. Big mate. I will. Nice back, guys. 20s. 21. Yeah. Speed coming.
It is just such a different boat. Remember how excruciating it was during the World Series, watching them try to get around the race course and lay there? Now they're working on a half a lap ahead right now of their arch rival.
We've made a lot, haven't we, about the changes in the foils. These are actually the same foils that we saw pre-Christmas, just modified, cleaned up, a lot less water coming out of them. But actually, when you look at the sails as well, Kenny, way more dynamic, powerful when they need it, flat when they need it. Massive change.
There's been plenty of work on that sail plan, and I think, yeah, like you said, it's as important. There's no question about that. How quickly they can change modes from full to flat and return is nothing short of a miracle. It's incredible.
Coming out wide.
we'd love to see, wouldn't we, between the two skins of the mainsail. There's all sorts of magic going on in there. I mean, they can really flatten those sails, bend the mast. Incredible.
Coming down here, isn't it?
I think setting up more and more like a dinghy, like a foiling dinghy, huge loads on the downhaul, lots of bends.
Quickest way to get going upwind is going to be left gate here.
American Magic were showing signs of rounding the bottom gate, but they have just basically touched down again, while at the other end of the course, INEOS Team UK are approaching their penultimate gate rounding. It's before heading home on the home run.
Attacking over here. Attacking whilst we still got some speed.
So guys, we've just been following INEOS this whole upwind, and they've been doing a great job right until that very moment there of tacking in all the little bits of pressure. They're sailing it like a dinghy, Shirley. They are switched on, and even though they're off the fours right now, I can see there's a little bit of pressure coming. The question is do they try and get it up and foiling before these marks, or do they just do VMG in the water and get to those marks? But I'm impressed with what they're doing with that boat.
He's stuck at the bottom still.
Nathan, there's about 15 minutes, just under 15 minutes left of maximum race time of 45. Do INEOS finish this race?
Okay. I think we're best just to get through displacement here, Gillette.
I think that's the big question. You know, right now they're sailing as if they deserve the win, but if the wind drops out, they're not going to get there. But if it comes in, which is why you've asked me, is the wind going to come in and get them to the finishing line? I'm going to say they're going to make it with a couple of minutes up their sleeve.
I'm going to hold you to that.
Big call, huh?
About time he made a big call.
Yeah, well, that's why you guys pay me the big bucks, right?
American Magic get around the bottom gate. They're halfway through the race, but that distance, and this time I'm going to call it, 8 minutes and 47 seconds behind, Ken.
Enough pressure right hand to sail straight up there.
Yeah, right boundary.
And it is a similar position at the top of the course. Would you rather be at the top of the course with one lap to go,
I think we're left
one leg to go, than at the bottom of the course with a full 2 legs up the sleeve?
Yeah, to think, I know I'm belaboring this point, but the role reversal of the INEOS package, and let's call this boat a package, because that's what it is. It's a package of all kinds of bits and pieces. The changes they have made is just short of a miracle compared to, what, 2.5, 3 weeks ago. It's incredible.
Well, this is a discussion point about being able to get the maximum out of the package once you get it right.
Well, I think they had some inherent, I think Shirley and I were talking about this morning and cut in on this, but I think they had some inherent deformation problems with their wings, and I think they've figured out a way to solidify the shape of the wing and actually to get them to work as they should work, and they weren't doing that during that World Series.
And we all saw it, the viewers all saw it pre-Christmas. The water is coming out of that foil. I mean, we all wondered what was going on, and we don't see that now. We see a little bit of water escaping, but nothing like it was. So they had a major issue, which in many ways is a relief, isn't it? When you're not going well, to actually find the cause. Massive relief.
You can come down a couple here, not much, that's it. Hold that. Bit of mess. Yeah, you can come down another 5.
Team UK crawling to the top mark for the last time, the top gate.
Doesn't matter.
They just, well, you might say, you could say sachet around.
Should get down. Okay. 6 knots there. Race against time here, obviously, boys. How long have we got? How long have we got? Got just over 6. Okay.
They know they're racing. They know they're racing against the clock, Shirley. You just heard them talking about it. Here we are on this foil that we're talking about. A couple really obvious things. Last week, we saw all these all these rivets, screws all over the place. And then we saw a big seam down the center of it. We don't see any of that anymore. So somehow, They have completely covered this side, the weather side of the foil, and it just looks, believe it or not, right? It's the same foil as we saw during that Christmas event, and it just looks completely different.
I think we're probably not too far off.
I mean, you know, even on a slow boat, if you have a scratch or something wrong with your keel or your rudder, I mean, it's a massive effect on boat speed, but you can only imagine going at this speed, what difference that makes.
Yeah. We were joking around yesterday about they're now black instead of red too. So obviously, you know, black foils must be faster than red foils at this stage.
Ten minutes left for maximum race time. That's right, 10 minutes now under. Can INEOS Team UK make it to the finish line inside the time limit? 9:46 and counting down. That clock now suggests if you're not across the finish line before then, you're in trouble. In the meantime, as you can see in the background, American Magic up on the foils. Where there is wind, there is hope.
That is exactly true. Where there is height, where there is a dry boat, there is hope. And can they just keep it up there during these maneuvers? That's where they've struggled. They keep splashing down in these maneuvers. 20 knots of speed through the maneuver, that's typically fast enough. And sure enough, I think they're going to pull this one off.
It's all above us.
Nathan, the thing is, these guys got a nice puff. Why didn't the Brits have that puff as it came down through the race course?
Well, they took the wrong top mark on the other side of the course, on that north head side, 11 knots of breeze, and it looked like they were just happy just going downwind away from that breeze. I know it's easy to say that in hindsight, but they're going to pick up this pressure pretty soon. Looking upwind of them and where they're heading INEOS, they're going to have enough breeze in a minute. But the breeze comes down the course in waves. You get a puff, you get a lull. And right now it's just American Magic's turn to have the breeze. And what INEOS are hoping right now is they get this pressure and they can get there in this time limit. I'm starting to get nervous, Stephen, that, you know, my 2 minutes is, it could be a struggle now.
It's okay, Nathan. It's okay. You can make a call and not get it right. It's all right.
Welcome to the media, Nathan.
Magnificent shot of Ben Ainsley on the helm of INEOS UK. You could almost cut all that picture out, and he looks like an explorer looking out across a wilderness, like on the top of a mountain or something. He just looks very much in control.
Well, at some stage, you have a little chuckle out there, too. When one boat's going 25 knots faster than you are, you know, and you're sitting there in no wind, what can you do? So all these guys, the tug of emotion between 0 to 0 and back again, I mean, it's no fun, and sometimes you just got to have a little laugh.
The clock is working against them all, though. A little over 7 minutes left for maximum race time. That's maximum race time, and
Press on it, please.
American Magic is yet to round the top gate for the final time, whereas INEOS Team UK are on the homeward run. And if they find that wind, they get that puff, that pressure, all this wonderful foiling from American Magic could be for naught.
Well, imagine if American Magic came from an entire leg down to win this race. I mean, I wonder if they could get it. I guess we could find some smart people if they could physically get to the finish line in 6 minutes from where they are. And here we go. Here's where the clock starts right now.
6 minutes and 21 seconds. They get up in their foils, but the spectator craft will be a little bit nervous right now. What a magnificent place to be.
I'm not so sure. I think there's some nervous folks right there.
But how exciting. You can imagine phones out there clicking away, videos on, saying, guess where we were at this particular point in time.
But Stephen, what a great job when it really matters. And they had the tiniest little kiss of the hull on the water, and it just bounced back up.
Generally better, but like to eke this out as much as you can.
So this is going to be interesting because I'm going to go back to what Nathan Alford said on water. He said they'll get in within 2 minutes. We're currently at 5.5 minutes. It's going to be tight.
Well, they're going to start jibing down that in our screen, the left side of the race course. We think all the breeze is on the left-hand side, and they're going to do more maneuvers than normal in order to try to stay there. I don't know if that was a boat problem. I think that looked like a boat problem or a mistake right there. They landed that one inadvertently.
How close was that if you're a spectator?
There's a few
what a moment.
There's a few Instagram clicks going on right there. There's a few new photos going up on Instagram as we speak. That's phenomenal. Well, we wanted to keep the crowd, Shirley. We wanted to keep the crowd in the game, and guess what? They're in the game.
Stand by. Crossing. Package. 2, 1 board down.
So we're on the final leg for INEOS Team UK. We've just heard, and 4 minutes and 19 and counting towards maximum race time. Otherwise, all this work is for 0. But we've just heard, we got some onboard audio while we were looking at INEOS Team UK, that there may have been a rudder problem with American Magic.
Something looked awkward in that last tack, like they had some sort of issue. So that kind of makes sense. Here we go. 4 minutes to go.
This looks all right. Okay, it's just okay.
Feels like a time trial now.
It is a time trial. The third competitor is that clock. You can finally talk about the clock, my friend. Come on. Here's your chance.
3 minutes and 40 seconds to go to maximum race time. 45 minutes allowable for a race. Can INEOS Team UK get across the finish line before that clock hits 0 and make it 3 from 3?
Surely, if they make this with 2 minutes to go, we're never going to hear the end of it from our friend Mr. Atterich on the water.
Okay, going back 10 seconds.
Let's go onto the water. Nathan, what do you think? Do they make it in time?
Well, if they make this jibe, they're going to make it. They're getting more confident by the second, and look at that. That's a glamorous jibe. Just holding the foil a little bit soft still. And out nicely. Very nice jibe there. And I think that they are going to make it at about 2 minutes to spare. What would you know?
You know what that says to me?
He's going to be incorrigible. Is that the right word?
Yeah, incorrigible, and he was smug. How about that? Surely, what a race. Take it right to the limit.
Lots of questions today about this boat's performance, and certainly Ben Ainsley has answered them.
Can all the way out here.
INEOS Team UK are going to make it 3 from 3 in the PRADA Cup Challenger Series. They have blown everybody away, and they've done it in style. Goodness gracious me. INEOS Team UK win race 1, round robin 2 of the PRADA Cup.
Not sure if we made it or not. Yeah, no, I think we did it with 2 minutes.
Oh.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I think we did it with 2 minutes. Great sailing.
Okay, Nathan, go ahead. Take your glory. Take your lap. Come on, 2 minutes. Take the lap.
Reds, we start 5-2.
Look how tired those grinders are. They worked hard.
Well, Nathan, we can come back to you because I think it was Ben Ainsley said, well, I think that was the 2 minutes, lads, wasn't it? So were you having a wee chat with him at the same time?
Wow, what a difference. What a difference a couple weeks makes. I just full credit to their design team and engineers and all the people doing all the hard work. And you know what? He keeps deflecting the credit, Shirley, but leadership, teams can crumble in those situations. That was shocking to the world, right? And with all the money spent and all the time spent, and good for that guy for keeping it all together.
He was so composed through throughout all of that. But you got a feeling just in the last week when we started doing those training races that Ben Ainslie, the racer, the fighter, the battler, had arrived in Auckland. He had confidence in his machine, and I think today they sailed with that confidence that probably it was going to be all right.
Yesterday, Shirley, Sir Ben Ainslie thanked Mercedes GP team and for the work we done. I was having a chat with a very esteemed journalist, Matt Sheehan, who was part of our team. He was talking that he'd gone to the Mercedes team and chatted about what they did. And everybody's been talking about aero, that what they had done and helped out was aero, but it wasn't. It was about creating parts for one key word, in which we have seen already. There's 3 races they've raced. Reliability. Making bits for the boat that don't break, and boat parts that are under incredible amounts of pressure, huge amounts of pressure.
And very quickly. They have the capabilities to build them very quickly. I mean, I think as this event progresses, we will see these boats get more and more aero. And this is not done. We are right in the beginning of the development of these boats. I know we keep saying it, but it's true.
This is going to be a tough night for these guys. Even though it's early in the piece, it's going to be a tough night. This is not the way this team, their supporters, their backers, friends, fans around the world, this is not how they thought they were going to be starting this event. They really were happy after that World Series event. They thought they had a chance to win every single race. They were a little disappointed that they couldn't nip the Kiwi. They were the only boat to beat the Kiwis, and they thought they could have nipped them a second time around. Yeah, I think this is going to come as a bit of a shocker. And again, it comes back to the leadership. It's time to rally the troops, pull them all in, close the ranks, and come out fighting again tomorrow.
They have some time. The semi-final for the PRADA Cup starts on the 29th of February, and so they have some time to make some differences. And it's incremental gains, Kenny. It's like one slight negative change means more drag, less speed, more drag. You know, it's tiny, tiny differences, and it's easy, you know, to look like a fool. Really easy.
Hey, they're still racing. They're still putting on a good show here. Get across the finish line in style. Pack it in. Head back.
The boat looks great.
When there's a little bit of breeze, looks terrific. But there's no question who the boat right now that's struggling the most in the light to get up on the foils of these challengers. And it's switched from this boat here to that boat going by on the horizon on the left-hand side, and they're going to have to do something about it. Quick analysis.
Yep.
3, 2, 1. There we go. What's that?
American Magic come to the finish finally at the end of race 1, round robin 2, and the margin will be just under 5 minutes, 4 minutes and 59 seconds, and there will be lots of discussions. They are 0-3 at the moment, and the PRADA Cup. All the talk will continue again for another 24 hours with racing tomorrow about the resurgence, in many ways, like a phoenix, the talk of INEOS Team UK.
Good news is there's only 24 hours here, Stephen and Shirley, right? Get right back on the horse. That's what they got to do. Good, nice little wave from the Americans over, you know, nice job, INEOS, but at the same time, that's the right expression. We got a little lucky there, no question.
Confirmation of the first race in round robin number 2 in the PRADA Cup on the waters of the Waitemata Harbour. Another win. INEOS Team UK are 3-0, and they win against American Magic by 4 minutes and 59 seconds.
Well, This race, in a small sense, I guess, was won and lost in the pre-start. It was a nice little entry and up on their foils for INEOS Team UK, but the Americans are early coming in. They try to slow down. They try their hardest to slow down, yet still stay on the foils. They end up coming off the foils right there. And it's not only did they come into the pre-start box early, and it's that one small line, but they never got back up in the foils forever. And I don't know if I've ever seen this before. Literally, surely, a boat doing circles around another boat while they're desperately trying to get things back going again. Really tough break for the Americans, and nice job by Ainsley to not force the issue, right?
It would have been easy to get stuck in. They were a sitting duck. A really good start by INEOS, very measured and controlled.
Up leg one, stayed on the foils, stretched out to a nice lead, but oh boy, here we go again. Reminders of the first race today. It's why they took the race from 6 legs down to 4. It got close because these guys caught a little puff, got right back in the game again. But you know what? The quiet and calm of Giles Scott is very, very noticeable. He keeps the whole boat under control. And they just said, hey, got close again. Let's figure out a way to just get it going, boys. And off they go. Lads, they call them lads, right?
Again, you know, really comfortable to sail their own race, and we saw that yesterday. And to me, that shows not just a confidence in your tactical decision making, but also in your boat speed, being able to put the boat where you want it.
There's the sign of the day, unfortunately, for the American Magic team. Even when they get back on the foils, they had a little struggle and had a little rudder problem and splashed back down again and let this boat be really the hero of the first 2 days of the Challenger Series. There's no question about that.
We started at 5-2, right?
INEOS Team UK win race 1 in the first of round robin number 2. Let us go on board INEOS Team UK and talk once again to Sir Ben Ainsley. Ben, you're 3-0. The smile looks great. How do you feel right now?
Oh, that was a pretty tough race, got to say, given what's at stake. And I actually think it was toughest for the grinders. They work hard all of the time, but today their work was, you know, just that much more intense, trying to keep the boat up on the foil. And every maneuver, you know that if you come off the foil, that might be the end of the race. So it was a tough one, but the guys did a great job handling the boat. Yeah, Giles did a great job trying to find the breeze, what little breeze there was. We managed to muscle it around and get the win, so we'll take it.
Hey, Ben, in your, really simply, in your wildest dreams, and I know you have to be optimistic about these things, but this is a turnaround like I don't know if I've ever seen before. Well, maybe you were involved in one in San Francisco at once upon a time. But did you think that in light air, especially like this, that you guys could have the juice that you apparently do to kind of be really competitive, at least with the rest of the boats?
Yeah, we really don't know, and I'm not sure today is a really accurate read, to be honest, Ken, because it's so puffy, as you can see, and shifty, and it's really about just trying to stay under pressure. So in a more even light air race against the other teams, how will we stack up? Still not sure, but you know, certainly a huge improvement from where we were 3 weeks ago, and again, great credit to the team.
Ben, lots of unknowns coming into today. I mean, how much of a relief was it to be so good in these difficult conditions?
Well, look, we won the race. It's a really tricky conditions out here. I think the guys did a great job sailing the boat well in the puffs and the shifts, trying to stay in the pressure. I wouldn't say it's an accurate read of light air performance, so, you know, we'll see. We'll see how we go as we get through the competition. We get some more light air days and perhaps some steadier winds. But yeah, certainly, like I said, a huge improvement, and we'll take the win and we'll keep pushing forwards.
Well done, Ben. 3-0. All the ticks in the right box. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Cheers, guys.
So Ben Ainsley, skipper of, or should I say helmsman of INEOS Team UK. You're right, Kenny, that is a huge turnaround, and that's a well-deserved squirt of water down the old gullet. Let's head across to American Magic, because they have got work to do. Waiting to have a wee chat with us is their skipper in Terry Hutchinson. And I suppose the obvious question here is, Terry, what's going wrong and how do you turn it around?
What's going on? Well, we're off the foils in both starts, and so, you know, that puts us behind straight away. And from there, you know, it was connect the dot breeze. You know, we in the first race we got around Rossa down the first run, and they got the pressure and got up and going and stayed up and going. So they sailed a good race there. And in the second race, kind of the similar situation. We were a little bit jammed up on our entry timing, and came off the foil. So again, we sailed a good beat, got up, got close at the top, and it was really who got the pressure and who popped first and went. So from my perspective, there's nothing to turn around. We got to just stay patient, trust in ourselves, trust in our team, which we do, and keep chipping along. There's a lot of meat left on this bone, so we're going to keep fighting.
Hey, Terry, this kind of reminds me more of college sailing that we did a long, long time ago. It's kind of, you know, on inland lakes and things like that. When you guys were practicing, did you expect such a shifty, kind of tough, light air race course out here like this? Is this, were you planning on this?
Charles River, keep it pointed towards the mark, Kenny.
That's what today was, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it was. And were we expecting this? You know, right now we're sailing statistically in the windiest month of the year. So I think when you design and you make these decisions for your boat, you're hedged. And, you know, if this is the worst of it, then we'll put it behind us and we'll keep moving forward. But, you know, all these things are character builders. And so, you know, I think when we get ashore tonight, you know, we'll have a quick catch up with the team and make sure everybody stays true to working hard and keeping Patriot prepared for turning it around. And as I said, there's a lot of racing in front of us. So,
Terry, thanks for your time. We look forward to seeing you back out on the harbour tomorrow against Rossa.
Yep, me too. Thank you.
So American Magic still looking for that first tick in the box, the win box. Here are the numbers we crunched from the race.
Well, again, the speed tells everything we need to see here right now, especially upwind speed. And look at how many 24 tacks and jibes sailed by Ainsley. And then the big number is distance sail. So they connected the dots. They used so many tacks and jibes to connect the dot. I don't know if I've ever seen 24 tacks and jibes in a 4-lap race before. You know, so that is how hard it was to try to connect those dots and stay in the puffs and stay up on the foils.
Let's go to the efficiency analysis and talk about, and you'll see plenty of tacks and jibes in this.
Yeah, high speeds and low speeds, and you're looking for not big number differences, but look at this crash at here's the start, okay? The start is the big one. That's when the boats went over the starting line. One boat was going 22 knots and the other boat was going 10. So that just can't happen. You know, the old phrase, the old Kiwi phrase, it can't happen at this level. They got to start starting better and making sure they're at least up on the foils and giving themselves a chance. Because I think in both of these races today, they didn't give themselves a chance. Some big, deliberate, slow times, while the other boat's going 35 knots. You're going 5 knots? I don't know, Shirley.
It's crazy, the speed difference, isn't it? And the graph today is so big from top to bottom. Really difficult day.
All right, let's take a look at the key moment from this race. Race number 1 of round robin 2.
Key moment, obviously, the entry, right, Shirley?
Come down in 2-1.
Yeah, INEOS, perfect entry, a couple of seconds late, and full chat, really getting into that starting box. The Americans, too early, they're over that little red line you can see come off the foils, and from there, Kenny, it was very difficult.
Yep.
That's a happy discussion being had out on the middle of the Waitemata Harbour, and Ben Ainslie, the figure he cuts is such a difference. And I know we keep going on about this a little bit, right? But the turnaround and the performance of this boat and the confidence of the team, led by that knight that we see there, is something to celebrate.
He played it down, but that race was a big deal. I mean, look at them. They are so relieved. They're talking with their coach there, Rob Wilson. He looks 10 years younger than he did a few weeks ago. That is a happy, confident boat.
And the trust he has with that guy, Giles Scott, the big, tall guy sitting there in the background. The trust he has that those two guys have after the brutal couple weeks that they had not too long ago, it's nothing shy of phenomenal.
What did you make of Terry Hutchinson saying they have nothing to turn around? Quote, there's a lot of meat left on this bone yet. Yeah, you know, he's going to be bummed, but good leaders have to lead. And they got to get after it. They got to get in there and make sure there's nobody with their head down. They got to, especially Dean Barker's. They got to get Dean Barker back in the game here a little bit. Time to get a good start. You know, let's just start there, one step at a time, right, Shirley?
Yeah, I mean, the unforced error there at the start, and then they were massively on the back foot. They have to reduce the errors, keep it simple. I'd like to hear more from Terry. You're right, they need more leadership on the boat.
So American Magic still the only team now unable to register a point at the beginning of the PRADA Cup Challenger Series. 12 races in total. And we've got plenty still left to go, but the team that leads right now sitting atop of the pile with the perfect 3-0 record. And you're not dreaming. It is INEOS Team UK, a team that couldn't win a race prior to Christmas, now has that perfect record. Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli picked up their first point of the PRADA Cup after a DNF from American Magic, but they handled the conditions well, and they have been tricky conditions all day out on the harbour. American Magic still sitting on the donut. So tomorrow, what have we got for you? Well, Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli's out, and they've got double duty. First up, it is against INEOS Team UK, and they'll have the port entry on that one. They'll have the starboard entry on round robin 2, race number 3, and that third race will complete round robin number 2. There is so much good talk to be had. We better get out on the water with Nathan Outteridge and just get his quick read on what happened today. I suppose this may be a little premature, Nathan. Can anyone stop INEOS Team UK right now?
Oh, jeez.
I said it was premature.
Stephen, that's very premature. You heard what Ben Ainslie said. There's a long way to go here, and it wasn't a true indication of their light wind boat speed, but man, they're sailing well. And tomorrow, we've got another different breeze coming. We're going to have what looks like a northerly, quite a lot of wind, 20 knots, potentially some rain. So 3 days, 3 different weather patterns. Can't wait for it.
So Nathan, big breeze tomorrow, medium breeze, real quick.
I think it's going to be a big breeze, big waves, action.
There you go. There you go, people. That's what we're looking for.
Nathan, thanks for your time out there. We talk to you tomorrow. So Shirley Robertson, what do you make of the day's racing today?
Every day is a roller coaster and a learning day for them and for us. Very exciting day, and really looking forward to tomorrow. We've not seen them race in that much wind. It's going to be a great day.
We are certainly looking forward to having your company tomorrow from 3 o'clock local time. It'll be day number 3. It'll be the start, or should I say the continuation of round robin number 2 and the completion of that. It makes a beautiful sight, doesn't it? Among North Head, which is one of the great viewing platforms of the stadium course, as American Magic get towed home back to their base in the Wynyard Quarter, and INEOS Team UK will be thinking, well, yeah, we're good so far, but how good can we be? You will find out. So we will join you tomorrow wherever you are around the world. Take care. We shall see you tomorrow.
Today's America's Cup Racing is brought to you by Spark.